Patrick takes the snap, drops back, lobs it back right corner. Decker! He's got it! Touchdown! Eric Decker scores! And the Jets have won it in overtime!
This is the Jet Take with Ben Blessington and Kyle Fahey.
I'm not sure what this intro is, but welcome back to Season 3 of the Jet Take. Play around. We're hiring a producer.
Yeah. Hey, we're getting some
one.
free agent acquisitions of our own pretty soon.
Yes. Okay, welcome back. We've been gone for, I think, 4 weeks or so. We decided to take just a little break. Nothing. Okay, Kyle, hold on. Let me just do this intro. I will bring you on in a second. Okay. Damn it! We're early into Season 3. Already got chemistry issues. But yeah, we took a few weeks break. Nothing really was happening. Gave Kyle and I time to recharge and plan out some new things. Some new things are in the works, and some interviews and whatnot should be happening over the next few weeks. And so we're really excited to bring that to you guys. And obviously it was just the dead of the off season. But we are back, and we are back with a vengeance. This week has been a whirlwind, and it will continue to be a whirlwind pretty much all the way until the draft. But we'll get to that in just a second. We just wanted to just take a quick second just to thank all you guys for staying with the podcast. Our Twitter mentions and stuff have been and interactions have been up tremendously. So even though we've been away from the podcast, we've actually been still growing the podcast. So we're very excited to be back. And we are expecting quite a few callers tonight. So hopefully we decided to do a caller episode. So hopefully we get a few Jets fans on the line. And yes, you can always follow our show at the Jet Take on Twitter, on Instagram as well. Actually, our Instagram is hacked, so maybe not Instagram. Don't follow that account.
Yeah.
Somebody hacked it and then changed the email, and we haven't gotten it back yet. But more on that later. Breaking news. But you can follow us on Twitter at the Jet Take. That is the best place to stay up to date on all of our. We normally record Wednesdays at 8:00 Eastern, but anytime that there's a special show or anything, and always we just love interacting with the fans. We do questions of the day and give our thoughts on all the things that the Jets are doing, whether we like it or not. And, of course, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We're pretty much all over the place. Now, without further ado, I'll introduce my very special co-host, Mr. Money, Kyle Fahey. Kyle, how have you enjoyed your break?
Oh, it's been nice not hearing your voice for 4 weeks. It's pretty refreshing. I think it was a good break. Yeah, okay. Fahey Blessington 2018.
I'm actually preparing for this boxing match.
Yeah, I'm ready.
It's going to happen. It's happening end of 2018, early 2019. Kyle and I are going to box each other, so look forward to that. But continue.
Are you hiring a an MMA guy or anything?
Are you?
I asked you first.
No. No. I might juice though.
Oh, we can do steroids?
Yeah. I think
I'll be all over
an open environment.
I'm willing to sacrifice some other things to win this.
Okay. All right. Anyways, Kyle. Yeah. All right. Well, let's hop into some Jets news. We'll do an individual breakdown on all the Jets moves, the overall breakdown, things still to come, things the Jets might have missed out on, but. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know at least the rough timeline of things that has happened, but we'll break it down just really quickly. Obviously, last time we were on the air, the Jets' number one target, Kirk Cousins. We were kind of all in on the Kirk Cousins boat. The Jets were the number one team to get him. Unfortunately, during those few weeks, the Vikings emerged as the new front runner, and they ended up winning his services. So that was a pretty disappointing start to free agency.
Fraudulent flip there, Ben?
I didn't even know what I said. But anyways, the Jets also missed out on one of my favorite targets, Allen Robinson. So a back-to-back double woe. I know some Jets fans didn't want it. But again, to the Jets missed out on Robinson. Jets missed out on Cousins. There's nothing coming on the Jets free agency wire. Everybody's wondering, is Mac just going to sleep with this $91 million and spend it in 2019 as Idzik did in 2014? But then the Jets came out with a vengeance and signed Josh McCown to a $10 million deal for 1 year. Again, we'll do an individual breakdown on that. Following that move, which wasn't received particularly great, the Jets signed Isaiah Crowell to, I believe, a 2-year deal. Very good contract. I wasn't in love with. We'll break down the we'll break down the contracts, but just when we're doing the individual by individual. But let's just get through everything that happened. Signed Isaiah Crowell, which was received a little better, but also in a very strong rookie running back class. People are wondering
the Cleveland Jets,
maybe.
Basically.
Yeah, maybe. But the Jets did need a power back, so they bring Isaiah Crowell into the fold. Well, again, we'll talk about all this in a bit. Then the Jets move on, and with their best signing to date, they bring in the cornerback Trumaine Johnson on a 5-year, $72 million deal. And that was a big signing for the Jets. It really rejuvenated the fan base's faith back into Mac. Makes a splashy signing. I wasn't too for Trumaine Johnson. I know he's definitely was arguably the top defensive player on the market. The problem with me was I thought we were going to sign Cousins, and it's like, are you going to pay Trumaine $15 million a year and Cousins $30 million? But since the Jets missed out on Cousins, I'm all for, I'm perfectly fine bringing in Trumaine Johnson. Has experience with the Jets secondary coach, big press man corner, has, if you Pro Football Focus, some very positive numbers. So I'm very excited to watch Trumaine Johnson in the fold next year. Following that move, the Jets made an interesting decision and signed Teddy Bridgewater to a 1-year, $5 million deal, which has up to $15 million in incentives. And then after that, one of my favorite moves that has gone pretty unheralded, they signed linebacker Avery Williamson to replace Demario Davis, which, I love Demario. I think he's a great presence in the locker room at a career year, but the Jets can't be dumb here and overpay for a guy who's getting into the top 30s. He's going to reach 30 in the next few years here. So I think the Jets did the right thing. If you saw the contract Demario Davis got with the Saints, I think he got $10 million a year, and I'm glad the Jets avoided that and went to Avery Williamson instead. That was yesterday. Today, a few more deals, a little more under the radar. Signed center Spencer Long, and some Jets fans, are kind of bummed the Jets didn't go for Ryan Jensen. Apparently they were interested, but the price tag was a little high. It is worth noting that Long is a center guard. He started plenty of games at guard. So theoretically, the Jets still could add a guy like Ryan Jensen if they were interested, or draft a guy like Frank Ragnow or Billy Price. The Jets guards last year were pretty terrible. So they're hoping with the new offensive line coach, Rick Dennison? I think it's Rick, right?
Dennison.
Yeah, Rick Dennison. I said Steve Dennison. Rick Dennison, that they can patch some of that up. But again, possibly Long, looking at the contract, could be more of a guard depth guy, depending on how the Jets do. But at least they have a guy who can play center. When healthy, he's a pretty solid guy. Definitely an upgrade over Wesley Johnson. No other outside free agent signed for the Jets, but they extended Terrence Brooks for 2 years, put a restricted free agent, or put a second-round tender on Quincy Enunwa, which is a key move. Put a 10-year on Rontez Miles, Brent Qualley, and Neil Sterling. I believe that was it. So that was the overall scope of everything the Jets have done to date. By the time you're listening to this podcast, they might have done some more stuff, and we'll break that down in the next episode.
We'll probably get some breaking news within the podcast.
Whether for the Jets or not. Oh, yes, and then one other thing, and we'll add in – yes, that's the other thing. And we'll go and talk about potential free agents we could go get. But I think it's worth – we put Kirk Cousins at the beginning. I think it's worth putting Tyrann Mathieu there at the end. Cut by the Arizona Cardinals due to his – I think he was going to have an $18 million salary cap hit. Obviously, he had his best career years under Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles' stepdaughter has a baby with Tyrann Mathieu, so there's definitely familiarity.
I think they're married now.
They might be married. Okay, so they're at least they're family. They have experience with each other. Todd Bowles, according to I think it was Dion Bailey, has plays named after Honey Badger.
Yeah, and then Tyrann, he said what the play was. I'll find the tweet. Bad podcasting.
It was probably
what's his Twitter?
I don't know what it was. But basically, Jamal Adams is recruiting him, and so the Jets seem pretty set on wanting him. There was a report that the Jets wouldn't be interested in him, but I don't know how much I would put into that because all logical sense would say the Jets would be into it. Todd Bowles, he can play the slot corner, and no matter what money you have to pay him, the Jets can cut Buster Skrine. So anything you pay Tyrann Mathieu, you can subtract $6 million from it this year. So it's really not as bad. Even if he's making $11 million a year, $4 million added to the salary cap. So I think it's a no-brainer move to the Jets. I think Tyrann probably would do it. We can have a few LSU defensive backs in the secondary. So that's pretty much everything that's happened so far. We'll go into some more things that could happen, and we're going to have some callers on the line in just a sec. But Kyle, just your overall thoughts on free agency so far.
I'm pretty happy so far. Obviously, missing out on Kirk kind of sucks because it puts us in a bind regarding the draft and possibly getting screwed over by teams trading up and being left with Josh McCown and Teddy Bridgewater as our options for this year. And I'm actually a fan of Teddy Bridgewater. I'll touch on that later in the show. But I think most of us knew, like the second we heard the Vikings were in the running and they were willing to pay, that he was most likely going there. He wants to win a championship. They currently offer him a better opportunity to do that. I don't think he's going to win one there. I don't think he was going to win one with us. But, he made his decision. He got paid. Good for Kirk. But we brought in a lot of really quality guys, a couple superstars. You may even say Tremaine Johnson. I know, the West Coast bias kind of affected him. Put him in an East Coast market. That guy's getting a lot more popularity and, notability, I guess, in the market like he should be getting because he's a top 10 corner in the NFL, has been pretty consistently for the past 2 to 3 years. If you remember when Janoris Jenkins was a free agent, I want to say 2 years ago now, he was a Pro Bowl corner and the Rams decided to keep Tremaine Johnson over him, and then Janoris obviously still playing at a high level. So you can see how teams value him at a high level. I think it's a good signing, maybe a little bit overpaid, but you never know what the market really is with these teams. When we say overpaid, we look at last year's pay salary and be like, okay, this guy's good. Maybe he deserves a little more. We don't know what the other offers were. We don't know how bad the Jets wanted him. We don't know if he was our first option. We don't know if we were his first option, blah, blah, blah. So say what you want about the salary. We have plenty of cap space for the next years to come. I'm not too worried about it. We got a true number one shutdown corner who is big, who thrives in man-to-man press coverage, has the best Pro Football Focus grade, and we'll be referencing a lot of those tonight. And I just want to say, don't take that as the holy scripture because PFF is useful and it's also hurtful at the same time, double-edged sword. So number one corner, got that locked down. We replaced Demario Davis, who was announced he's signing with the Saints today, so congrats to Demario. We were looking forward to having him on the show at some point during this season. Obviously not going to happen now. Replaced him with a good young player in Avery Williamson, who has been productive with a playoff team of last year, the Tennessee Titans. Arguably, their best defensive player, an exception to Kevin Byrd, who had a great year at safety, was a Pro Bowler. So we signed two really good starters who are young and can be with us and fit the system well. And then on the offensive side of the ball, obviously Josh McCown, 1 year, $10 million. That's questionable. I don't know how I feel about that move. My first initial thought of that was, let's see on the official contract when that comes out, the guaranteed money and anything, because I don't foresee him getting past training camp if Teddy Bridgewater is healthy and we draft a quarterback. Because I still think we're going to draft a quarterback. It shouldn't put us in a bind like some people are saying it does. I disagree with that. So I brought in McCown. I really love the Teddy Bridgewater signing, especially for the price. The kid had a lot of talent before the injury. He was showing improvement. The Vikings were a good team with him at the helm. It is unfortunate what happened to him. That was a sad day in the NFL. He had to get rushed to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. He's made a recovery. He played in a game last season, or at least a quarter or something like that. He showed promise. He is a young quarterback who was middle of the pack, was getting better, and, now we have him for the cheap. So maybe you have something there in Teddy Bridgewater. I love just taking a flyer on it. If it doesn't work out, it's whatever. At worst, it's dead money. But that's a good person to bring in. He's a great guy in the locker room and, a good player on top of it, assuming that he's, back to himself. So on the offensive side, Also added in Spencer Long. I mean, Ben, you touched on it a little bit. Center guard, kind of a mix there. Was a center for the Redskins, I want to say, for the past year and a half. They kind of had the whole Brian Stork type of trade thing. They had a couple guys rotating in and out of there. Honestly, he's an all right player. He's better than Wesley Johnson. I don't think it's a tremendous upgrade, but it's a small upgrade. I'll be interested to see how it affects our depth. Did you say that we did something in Brent Qualday earlier? Did I hear you say that?
I believe we did, and I should add it on. I guess we could wait until I get it, but Tyrann Mathieu did say to Jamal Adams. Adams tweeted, "Honey Badger plus President Mall, scary sight. Let's get it." And Tyrann Mathieu quoted, said, "Dreams still come true?" ? So it sounds like Tyrann is interested. But anyways, I believe they put a tenure on him. Hold on, let me confirm that he was in the graphic that the Jets had that I saw tweeted out, but feel free to keep talking.
Yeah, my point there, I'm just interested to see what they do depth-wise at guard and stuff, and obviously guard is an option at 6 with the tremendous talent, we have in the offensive line this year. I don't want to say go ahead and take Quentin Nelson, but, if he's sitting there and you think it's a need.
No.
I mean, that kid's going to be a
I don't care how good he's going to be. The Jets should not take Quentin Nelson in any scenario. I'm not even kidding. First of all, you don't have your quarterback. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, I love the signing, and he still could be
I agree.
quarterback, but you can't bank on that. And it's like,
I agree.
And even if the Jets had signed Kirk Cousins, I'd still be against it in most scenarios because it's like, I don't take non-premium positions with premium picks. And it would be the reason I would struggle to take Saquon Barkley. But at least
we took a safety and defensive tackle. So.
Hold on. But at least Saquon Barkley, if he's Barry Sanders and you're taking him, nobody's going to complain. A guard, while Quentin Nelson should be very good, it's never – the draft is a crapshoot. Who says he's not to be the next Chance Warmack? So there's still a risk. But even if he is good, how much has Joe Thomas helped the Cleveland Browns in his time? I mean, he's been good, but the stat came out today that the Cleveland Browns have never started. Joe Thomas has never started the season 1-0. I mean, the Cleveland Browns have been a historically bad franchise, and they had a terrific left tackle. And Quentin Nelson is a guard, which is significantly less important than a tackle. So while I love Quentin Nelson as a prospect, if I was, the Patriots, would I take him? Yeah. But if I'm the Jets,
I get the point you're making here. That's a bad example. That's not Joe Thomas's fault.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's Joe Thomas's fault. But my point is how much impact does one offensive lineman have on the team? And Joe Thomas is a position that is more important and an established commodity. So no, I would never take Quentin Nelson. We're going to talk about the draft in just a second. I want to get we're going to go to the callers in probably about 5 minutes. I just wanted to get your brief thoughts on what the Jets are going to do going forward tomorrow. And later today. Do you have any targets in mind that you're zoning in on?
Yeah, obviously Tyrann Mathieu is currently my number 1. And I'm not even done at the cornerback position. I would love to bring back Morris Claiborne, and if we can't get that worked out, EJ Gaines is a guy. If we want to spend the capital on it, I'm a fan of EJ. Obviously Morris Claiborne, I think he did a good job at number 1 last year. I think he's going to be better as a number 2. In the NFL, less pressure. That would be arguably the best secondary in the NFL if we add Tyrann Mathieu and then sign another corner. Assuming that Marcus May and Jamal Adams have at least the same rookie years that they did, I'm going to assume they improve on it. That would be the best secondary in the NFL. Tremaine Johnson, Jamal Adams, Marcus May, Tyrann Mathieu. I'm assuming we'll cut Buster Screen. And then just say Morris Claiborne, just for familiarity purposes, possibly EJ Gaines.
The trend that we're going to talk about is how you noticed. Last year the Jets did not have as much cap space as they had in Mac's first year and this offseason, obviously. So not as much happened. They signed a few guys here and there. So let's scrap 2016. We knew that was going to be a down year. 2015, Mac's free agent strategy was very similar. He came out and said the Jets were going to be very active, and he did the same thing this year as well. The difference is the free agents the Jets were signing in 2015 were a hell of a lot older. The Jets were signing aging, past their prime, hoping to squeeze out 1 or 2 more seasons out of these guys, and they did for a year. They turned out to be good. But if you look at the free agents the Jets are signing, they are all in their 20s. Tremaine Johnson is the oldest free agent they signed. He is also their best, and he's 28. So for a corner, you probably have 2 or 3 years of very good football from him there. But besides that, every player they have signed has been very young. I mean, Avery Williamson, 26. I believe Spencer Long is 27. Isaiah Crowell is 25. So I'm very excited. And Teddy Bridgewater is also, I think, 24, 25. So, and I'm not going to count Josh McCown. Josh McCown is a re-sign. But besides that, I mean, the Jets are going for a youth movement. That's kind of why I'd lean E.J. Gaines. The biggest knack on E.J. Gaines is that he's hurt. And what's the biggest knack on Morris Claiborne? He's hurt. E.J. Gaines had a very, very good season, and so did Morris Claiborne. But E.J. Gaines, when he was on the field, was arguably a better player than Morris Claiborne. I would be perfectly fine with having Morris Claiborne, but as far as my number one option, I'm going E.J. Gaines. He had an 86 PFF score, I believe. He's 26 years old. He's a physical corner. I would love to pair him back up with Trumaine Johnson. That would be a hell of a secondary, as you said there. If the Jets are able to have Trumaine Johnson, E.J. Gaines. Obviously, Screen's going to be cut if they bring in Matthew, or at least he should be. Some people don't think he should be, but for the cap purposes, and that's exactly where Matthew's going to play, is that slot corner. Tyrann Mathieu in the slot, and then the two safeties. Hell of a secondary. And you saw what the Jets did in 2009 with Darrelle Revis' elite secondary play. We know how important the secondary is here in New York. You're going up against Tom Brady twice a year. You better have guys who can shut down the receivers. The one thing, and I know we're kind of jumping all over the place, but I kind of asked you this, is what the Jets should do. The one thing I'm nervous about, and this was kind of the reason, this was kind of my main draw as to wanting Cousins, is because what are the Jets going to do at edge rusher is really the question.
Yep.
Because as far as the defense goes, that's really the only hole left. I mean, if that secondary pans out, it's really the only big hole left. Even if the Jets sign, as far as defensive end goes, I'm for you can draft a younger guy in the 5th round. Sign a guy like Benson. I don't want to butcher his name. Benson Mayowa from the Cowboys.
The guy from
Adrian Claiborne. Just sign a middle guy. Adrian Claiborne actually had 9 sacks, although 6 came in one game. But just sign a guy like that, defensive line. Yeah, You can move them around. Xavier Cooper, Coney Ealy, you can move around that defensive line position. Maybe Sheldon if you have some leftover cap. But again, I don't think the Jets should burn it all this offseason. So I might stay away from Sheldon. But if the number's right, I'd go there. But defensive end, you can just kind of fill with the guy. I think Adrian Claiborne would be a terrific guy, great run stopper, and get up to the quarterback. But that outside linebacker position is a position the Jets have really needed to fill since John Abraham. And they don't really have any guy right there that can be the pass rusher. So if the Jets are trading up, you're probably sacrificing 1 or 2 of those second-round picks. It's just my question to you, Kyle, is do you see anybody in this free agent class that could be that pass rushing outside linebacker? The guy the Bills signed today, I don't know why I chose now to space on his name. Give me a second. Why can't I think of his name? I wrote about him in my TOJ article. Hold on. My God, why can't I think of this?
Choking hazard.
I'm gonna get him. I'm scrolling through my Twitter really fast. Okay, well I can't find him. I'll think of it in the middle. But I think the Jets need to find a guy who can rush the passer in free agency and then draft a guy. Kyle, who are some guys you'd be looking out for that the Jets could maybe add at outside linebacker?
Are we including the draft in this?
Well, yes, but I want you to start with free agency and then talk about some draft prospects because it looks like, I guess the Jets could theoretically take Bradley Chubb, and that's my fear, but It looks like the Jets should take a quarterback. So talk about free agents, and then you can move to 2nd and 3rd round pass rushing prospects.
Ooh, I actually don't know what outside linebacker free agents are available right now because I don't know who's been signed in like the past hour and a half.
Trent Murphy, that was his name. Trent Murphy.
Trent Murphy? Oh, okay.
That was the guy. Well, the one that sticks out to me, and I wrote an article on how they should sign a guy like this. Alex Okafor had experience in Todd Bowles' system,
Arizona.
Defensive end outside linebacker. Had a career year with the Saints, and I got to make sure he wasn't re-signed already. But had a career year with the Saints until he got hurt in November. I believe he had 4 or 5 sacks, and then he got hurt. So has experience with Todd Bowles. That would be a guy that I think the Jets should just target to bring in. He can be your starter, and then you can develop another. It looks like the Jets are going to go another round of the 3rd round outside linebacker, a la Lorenzo Mauldin, Jordan Jenkins. And then, maybe you hope one of your guys like Lorenzo Mauldin or drive down the wrong side of Lincoln Tunnel, Dylan Donahue. I feel like I could have come up with a better nickname there, but we really whiffed on that.
Hate when that happens.
Yeah. Anyways, so brief summary. We kind of jumped all over the place in the last 10 minutes, but a lot to talk about. Very excited. So we're going to go ahead and bring on our first caller. We have 2 on the line at this moment, so we're going to start with 908. You are on the line. How's it going, man?
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. We're monitoring the Jets free agents so far, and we're pretty happy. Can I ask what your name is?
Yeah, it's Todd. I don't think I've called before, so yeah.
All right.
Out
Not
here
Holes, right?
in Kyle's, neck of the woods, South Florida. So.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So
Where at?
just kind of interested. Like Coral Springs, Fort Lauderdale area.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Familiar with the
so
territory.
Just wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were, because I came in, I think, after you guys maybe talked about Tyrann Mathieu. I feel like it's one of those things that makes so much sense that they'll end up passing on him. You hear about those guys that Bulls, had in Arizona and whatnot, and I think it was the guy that the Ravens signed last year who played for
Tony Jefferson.
Tony Jefferson, who seems like it made a lot of sense, and then obviously they didn't have the money or whatever it was, and he went to Baltimore. So just seems like one of those guys that they, make so much sense. Matthew's already commenting on Jamal Adams' posts about, wanting to play with him. So it seems like it makes so much sense that they'll end up passing on him.
Oh yeah.
I as a Jets fan, I can totally see that happening. And I had that fear, and I did read a report that the Jets weren't interested. Yeah, my fear is that Mike Maccagnan is going to be like, we already have 2 safeties, and he's going to be a lot of money. I think given the talent that Tyrann Mathieu is, the familiarity, obviously the want from at least from his side and from a lot of players in the locker room and the fans, I think the Jets should 100% pounce on this, especially since it allows them to cut Scream, which would free up $6 million. But I think you're right. Sometimes the Jets can be incompetent. We'll cross our fingers and hope in the next few days they can bring him into the fold. Now, Todd, I wanted to get your thoughts on the rest of the Jets free agents. How are you feeling post missing out on Kirk Cousins? How do you think the Jets have rebounded? I don't even know if you were in favor of getting Kirk Cousins, but how are you feeling, after missing out on the guy that the beat writers have been talking about for months? The Jets have had a few signings and a flurry of moves. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a little nerve-wracking. You're sitting there.
And
we lost Todd for a second.
that was a great run.
Yeah. That was my fault. That was
on you?
My fault. I'm going to hope he calls back in here, and then we're going to give him a few minutes to call back in here.
Christ,
I was naming him in the I think this is what happened. Is I named him in the software, and instead of pressing set name, I hit drop. I'm going to hope I didn't. That might have been me. My apologies, Todd. We're gonna give him about 2 or 3 minutes to hopefully get back on the line.
Ben, you know what we call that?
Season 3 mistake?
That's a cuck move.
Okay. That should know that was coming for. Okay. Well, we're gonna wait for Todd to come back on the line. If he doesn't, we'll move on to our next.
We're off to a great start. Season 3.
I know. I feel so bad about it. It was because they flipped him or something. It was in a weird spot, and I just clicked it without looking, and I was like, oh, no. But, Kyle, we're going to just keep moving on with the show, and we're going to come back to that question he was talking about. Do you think, Kyle, that the Jets could target one of these free agent wide receivers? Obviously, one of the guys I was really interested in was Allen Robinson. I think the Jets still need a red zone.
Can I talk about Allen Robinson?
You can in a second. You can in a second.
Okay.
I think, a lot of people are saying, well, the Jets don't have a need at wide receiver, and I agree that there's a lot of talent there. I'm not overlooking some of the things. But Robbie Anderson, 2 arrests in a year. Quincy Enunwa coming off, will be suspended for probably 2 games. Quincy Enunwa coming off a major neck injury, missed all of last year. I'm going to really hope Todd is still not talking, that he's looked at his phone right now.
Oh, that would be
He's going to look in like 2 minutes. Quincy Enunwa, coming off a major neck injury. Jermaine Kearse is not a number 1 wide receiver. He's a terrific wide receiver, but he's more of that slot guy. And then you have guys like Chad Hansen or Darius Stewart, who neither are your big red zone threat, and neither are proven. So that's why I think the Jets should bring one more wide receiver into the fold, just for the purposes of you don't know what a noon one Anderson situations are, and because they do have a need at red zone, especially without a tight end right now. Okay, Todd is back on the line. That was Todd. My apologies. I was trying to name you in our software, and instead I accidentally hit drop. But Kyle, we're gonna come back. It's just
he hated your call that much.
Yeah,
30
I felt so bad
about it, and you're gone.
I just want to say, as doing tech support for the past year or two of my life, that makes me laugh.
Well, my apologies, Kyle. We'll come back to the receiver question actually with Todd on the line in a bit. But Todd, you were giving your feelings on the Jets free agency so far.
Yeah, you messed my joke up a little bit. I was gonna basically say that,
Ben does that a lot.
I was sitting there at work, and refreshing Twitter pretty much the whole day yesterday once the news started rolling in, and it was getting a little nerve-wracking, and I was just, kind of thinking my boss was probably sitting there like, what is this effing moron doing? Looking at his phone the whole day. But, yeah, it was, a little bit nerve-wracking until what came first. Well, the first couple actually kind of sucked. But then once they got Tremaine Johnson, I guess, it was a little bit of a sigh of relief. They realized they're actually going to end up spending some of that money. Then you see the Isaiah Crowell news come out that ended up being, at first it was like a 3 or 4 year deal, and you don't know, are they going to pay him like $40 million or whatever? Ended up actually looking like a pretty good deal. So, that's actually kind of encouraging that he was able to get him on such a cheap deal from what could have been expected there. Almost got Jerick McKinnon, lost out on that, but I guess that's all right. But I guess it turned out okay. Kirk Cousins, I was a little upset at first about it, but you sit back. It's probably better as long as they get any of the top 3 quarterbacks that they have to trade up. It's probably better that they get one of those guys rather than using all that cap space on Cousins. So I'm okay with that, given the rest of the moves that they made.
Yeah, and Todd, what are your plans for the draft? Or I'll ask you what your plans are and what you think the Jets are going to do, because some see the signings of Teddy Bridgewater and Josh McCown as a sign that the Jets might not draft a quarterback, that the Jets are going to stay at 6 and they're going to take the best player available. And if that's Baker Mayfield, that's Baker Mayfield. If that's Bradley Chubb, that's Bradley Chubb. And what do you think? What do you think the Jets are going to do?
I think there's some legitimacy to them maybe thinking they don't have to trade up now that they have both those guys. My fear is their thinking is now that they have those guys who can start a year or two, they feel okay taking Josh Allen and making the same mistakes they made with Pack and Teddy. That's kind of my fear. My ideal scenario would be Rosen or Baker. I like Lamar Jackson a lot. I just feel like it's not feasible. They're not going to wait until – he's not going to last until round 2, and they're not going to take him at 6, and they're not going to trade down to take Lamar Jackson. So while I like him a lot, I don't think he's feasible. So, yeah, those would be my 2 ideal guys, whether you have to trade up or they fall.
Actually, I love Lamar Jackson. I wouldn't be shocked if he was in the 2nd round just because NFL teams are stupid, honestly.
Yeah, no.
I just feel like quarterbacks always get overdrafted regardless of, race, athletic ability, arm strength, all that. I feel like quarterbacks just get overdrafted, Look at Petty and Hack as 2 examples from the Jets and other teams, too.
That's fair.
Yeah, just to chime in here, I love Lamar Jackson as a prospect, too. I don't think he's the right prospect for the Jets, per se. I mean, if he's there in the 2nd round, I think he might be. The reason I say that is because – like Josh Allen, I think he's going to need some time to sit. But I have him as a higher-ranked prospect than Josh Allen. I think he has the athleticism.
Can we start calling him Joshua? Let's call him Joshua.
Okay. Kyle has a weird thing where he calls bad players not by their name. I don't know what that is, but I think
I've noticed that.
Deron Lee or whatever it was. But Todd, I think. I don't think Lamar Jackson's the quarterback for the Jets. If the Jets are going to take a rookie, I think it should be one of the 3. Now, personally,
I agree with that.
Yeah, no, and you're spot on. Personally, what I think the Jets should do, and I think it's in their back pocket, I don't think the Jets should or will trade up in the next month. I don't think you'll see any move. The Jets have traded up. I think what the Jets are going to do is they're going to wait till draft night. And they have 5 picks in front of them. So they're going to see how does number 1 go? Do the Browns take Saquon Barkley? Okay, let's say they take Barkley. Even though that would be a bit of a shock. Some people think Darnold, some people think Allen. What do the Giants do? That's a big one. If the Jets start to see the board fall like this, if it starts to, no matter if the Bills trade up, even if the Bills trade up to 3, and they're sitting there, if the board goes Sam Darnold, and then I think around that Giants pick, I think the Jets make a call. If the Bills are at 3, you make a call by number 2, and you hop the Bills and make sure you get a quarterback. If the Bills aren't there, then you can let the Giants pick roll by. I just think the Jets should just play this by ear. Have your offer ready for each team. Know what you're going to offer, how high you'll go, how low you'll go, and just wait. Because you could get really lucky here and have the Browns take Barkley, then have the Giants take Nelson, then have the Colts take Chubb, and then have the Browns take Allen, and then have, the Broncos trade back with the Bills and the Bills take Darnold or whatever. And then you're sitting with Rosen and Mayfield. So I think Maccagnan going to be very smart not to waste picks, because if the Jets trade up all the way to 3 and Rosen or Darnold or Mayfield would still be available at 6, in the aftermath, he's going to catch some heat. So I think he's going to play it smart, and I think he should. He should just wait. But if he sees 1 quarterback go and 2 teams in the wings, he should definitely pounce. If he sees 2 quarterbacks go, he needs to really pounce. But yeah, I think my fear is what the Jets are going to do is they got McCown as the mentor, kind of know he's there, reliable guy. Bridgewater is the potential to be kind of a guy with high upside. And then hope, and then my fear is that they'll say, hey, we have those 2 guys. The top 3 quarterbacks can go off in the draft, and we take Bradley Chubb, which would be a fine pick, but then you're kind of missing out on some of the top quarterbacks in a very good quarterback year. Now, Todd, a few more questions for you. We were during my accidental dropping of your call, Kyle and I moved on and just started talking about the wide receiver free agent market. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think the Jets should try to add anybody in the free agent pool? Do you think wide receiver is a need for the Jets? Who are some guys that you'd be interested in? Obviously, I was a big fan of adding Allen Robinson to add a red zone presence. But do you think wide receiver should be a target for the Jets in free agency? Do you think they should wait to the draft? Or do you think they're fine with the Enunwa, Robinson, and Kearse trio they have as of right now?
I was a fan of adding Allen Robinson. Didn't really want to touch Sammy Watkins. Looks like he got a lot of money from the Chiefs. But the remaining free agent class don't really see much upside there. I do think they should look into adding, I don't know how early, especially if they do have to trade up, but, someone who's got some decent potential because, who knows what's going to happen with Darius Stewart and Chad Hansen. And, I mean, you have the pending probable suspension of whatever amount of games with Robbie Anderson, and he's been a little unpredictable off the field, so you don't know what will happen in the future. And then, Quincy Enunwa, apparently he's healthier, recovering, but, he did get a neck injury in the offseason, and you never know with something like that. So, you just, even though he looked like he was really promising before, you don't know how he's going to return once he gets back on the field. And, I mean, Jermaine Kearse is, nice, but he's not, a number 1 or a number 2 or maybe even a number 3. So I think they should look into adding, I don't know if it needs to be in the first 2 rounds, but, someone with some decent potential as a receiver.
Yeah, Kyle, well, you were going to add something when I originally asked it to you about Allen Robinson and your take on this. So fire away.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of a hot take. Allen Robinson may be mentally insane. he signed with the Chicago Bears, arguably the worst team in the NFL going into next year, regardless of what you think about next year.
No, what?
Yes. Ben, I don't care what you say about the West.
All right.
Yeah, they have John Fox as their head coach. I mean, come on. They have no hope. They can add whoever they want. That team at best will get 8 wins.
I don't. Okay, wait. First of all, the Chicago Bears have done a terrific job of
on offense
building their team. Yeah, I think. First of all, John Fox is not their head coach. I should add that right now. Matt Nagy, the head coach or the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs, is their new head coach.
Way. Way.
Yep.
Did I 100% miss that?
Yeah, you did. Matt Nagy, I think, is a good hire. I think Nagy is a good hire. I think Burton as a tight end was a great pickup. I think Robinson is going to be a terrific pickup. I think Trubisky is going to develop a bit more. So no, I don't think the Bears are. You could argue the Bears have a better hope than us. They have their franchise quarterback. As far as my take on wide receivers, I'm pretty interested in Terrell Pryor. I'm not going to lie. I know that's a bit controversial. A lot of people.
I've been seeing that on Twitter lately.
The reason I'm interested in him is, one, I think you could get a really low risk, high reward type of deal with this guy. I like him. I like what he's had to go through.
That's what the Redskins did last year, and it didn't.
I understand what that it is, but again, that's why it's called low risk. What did the Redskins really lose for that? Nothing. It was an experiment. He was either really going to work out. If it didn't really matter, and it didn't. He's not on the team anymore. Didn't really hurt them in the long run. I would do that type of deal with the Jets. First of all, he adds a red zone presence, even though he's a former quarterback. If you watched him in specifically that 2016 Browns season, and I should add, if you're going to dominate with Cody Kessler as your quarterback, you can definitely dominate with.
Watch
it. Didn't Pryor play with McCown actually there too?
Yeah, Pryor did play with McCown for a bit, and Kessler came in and when McCown got hurt. So you're right there as well. There's some familiarity there. I think Pryor would be a great signing. Sign him to a 1-year deal. It'll be lower than he got last year. For those Jets fans that watched that 2016 Jets Browns game, you saw how he dominated Darrelle Revis, and he had a terrific year that year. I think he can return back to that form if he's healthy. I would be interested in that. If the Jets don't go that way, I think Brandon Coleman is his name, a receiver from the Saints. I want to make sure I'm right. Has some pretty good stats. 6'6", adds up red zone presence. One of those underrated. He is a receiver from the Saints. One of those underrated signings that could end up going a long way. And if the Jets don't get any of those guys, a guy like Auden Tate in the draft would be a terrific pick.
Oh yeah.
I think the Jets just
slow as hell though.
Yeah. He did not run very. But again, that's what plagued Alshon Jeffrey. People were talking about, Alshon Jeffrey's slow, but it's like, does that really matter when he caught that amazing touchdown pass in the Super Bowl? So I think the Jets need to add a big body receiver, a 6'5" guy. Just get a guy we can throw it in the end zone. Todd, last question for you. Similar topic. We'll move one position over to tight end. How do you think the Jets have handled this? Obviously, they didn't budge from their 2-year, $8 million deal for ASJ.
False. They boosted the offer according to
I was getting there.
Okay.
They didn't boost their offer. Then Trey Burton signed for a heck of a lot more with the Bears. ASJ had been commenting on some Instagram. I want to go someplace I'm wanted. He's talking about probably wanting to go to the Falcons. He's in Seattle right now, so he's only 3 hours away from me. And the Jets have upped their offer a bit. I do have his number. I'll give him a sales pitch. And the Jets have upped their offer a bit. One, how do you think they've handled this? Two, what are you thinking about the whole ASJ situation? Do you want him back? Do you think they should, what do you think the max number is? Or just your feelings on ASJ as a whole? And then three, if they miss out on the ASJ, what are some of your options? There's a guy like Tyler Eifert in free agency. The Lions released Eric Ebron today. So just your overall feelings on the tight end position.
Remember, you can't thunder Austin Seferian-Jenkins on this show. Just a reminder.
I saw that he left the Seahawks interview and he's on to the Jags. I think he's flying out there or whatnot, obviously. But
got you, man.
But I think I read an article. I think it was from Connor Hughes, the guy who just went to the Athletic, beat reporter for the Jets. So I saw an article that he had today, I think it was, or maybe it was yesterday, but anyway, about how Mac has kind of been slow playing a lot of his own pending free agents, Claiborne, ASJ, and Damari Davis, and how a lot of them would have been guys that he would have just, signed almost immediately or, waited and then signed kind of like he did with Fitzpatrick and then, the year before with Mo, and how he ended up caving and giving each of them a lot of money and then obviously they didn't work out. And how this year he's kind of been much more measured, even though he obviously clearly has the cap space to spend on those guys. But, you don't want to be looking back 2 years later when you're fired and both those guys or all those guys suck, because they were injured or they didn't play up to their contract. So, the point was just, he's hopefully, optimistically, if you look at it that way, learning from his prior mistakes with other signings. So in that sense, I think it's encouraging because ASJ, while he is, a good talent and it looks like he's turned his life around and, lost a lot of weight, stopped drinking, everything like that. We've all heard the stories, but, he
right here on the Jet Take.
Came on strong and he didn't, finish as strong. That was because, the refs had it out for him or it was just dropped or whatever the case may be. He didn't finish as strong as he started. And, while he's a good player and, you can have him for a decent value, I think that you don't want to overpay him too much. You don't want to give him the Trey Burton deal, I guess is what I'm saying. You definitely don't want to pay him that much. So I think it's good that he's kind of sticking to his guns. You can give him a little more than, $4 million a year, but, we'll see how it goes. I'm not upset about that. As far as tight end free agents, I don't know about Eifert. I think he's probably going to cost a lot of money, and you never know if he's going to stay healthy. So, and it seems like they're kind of hot and cold with using the tight ends anyway, with whether that was because ASJ is talent or not, or if it was because Morton just kind of gave up on the tight end, last year, and if they're going to, use him, how much they're going to use him receiver anyway. So I don't know about Eifert. Ebron would be kind of intriguing, especially if they have, a decent blocker behind him with, Tomlinson. So that actually would be kind of intriguing. So we'll see. We'll see how, if they end up pursuing him.
Yeah, Kyle, your thoughts?
Obviously I'm a big fan of ASJ. I guess we could say we've become friends with him over like the past year or so, ever since he came on the show. Rooting for him. It's a team first in my mind. I personally think Austin Seferian-Jenkins is a very talented tight end who has elite abilities and has improved as a blocker throughout his career. I would love to have him back. If that doesn't happen, my second, go-to would be Eric Ebron just because of talent. I don't think he was worth where he was picked. I think he was worth being a first-round selection, one of the rare talents, to come out of the ACC as a tight end, an exception to Greg Olsen, most likely, in Miami. He's a very talented individual. You can get him probably for around the same price as ASJ, and he could be productive for you. So, obviously, I'd rather have ASJ back in the building, but, there are other options right now.
By the way, before, I also just want to point out, I really like ASJ too, so I really do want him back. I just feel like they shouldn't overpay for him. It's more of a principle thing of not wanting to get burned, because even though he did good this year, you don't know how his, past results don't predict, future. So that's kind of my thoughts there.
Yeah, just really quickly before we go to our next caller, Todd. I think ASJ very talented. We try not to let our bias get in here. Obviously, a super nice guy and a great story. I think he was robbed of a few touchdowns by the refs. I think he was also robbed of a few touchdowns by the Jets by not throwing to him enough in the red zone and not utilizing.
I like what you did there. That was good alliteration.
Thank you. I think they didn't use him enough. They definitely had him as a target. I mean, I think a great example of this is I think there was a Tampa Bay game where they just didn't throw to him at all the entire
until the end of the game.
Until there was 30 seconds left and he caught 2 monster catches, 1 on 4th down. I think if he's put in the right situation, whether that be in Seattle, Jacksonville, Atlanta, or even New York, if the offensive coordinator uses Austin Seferian-Jenkins, he will be the top tight end. He would be the top tight end on the market, if that makes sense. Looking back, that was the best tight end that was signed. I think the Jets should try to get him. I don't think they should exceed around what Trey Burton got, but I think Austin said it himself. He wants to be back here. After what the Jets did for him when he was low, picking him up and helping him through his rehabilitation, he wants to be here. If you can get close to that Trey Burton offer, I think he'll sign here. But it almost feels like he was just insulted that we offered him $4 million a year. Mack was taking it for granted, was being a little too frugal. I think he needs to up it a bit, get it around the Trey Burton offer, and I think we'll see ASJ return. If not, I would take a flyer on Eifert. I don't think it'll be as expensive as you think just because of that injury concern. And if not him, Ebron would probably be the next move. But the Jets, I really think should just bring back ASJ if they can. But anyways, Todd, thank you so much for your call. It was awesome having you call, and we love first-time callers, and you really hit it out of the park. My apologies again for dropping you towards the beginning, but we rebounded with our second attempt. But Todd, really quickly, just give out your Twitter or social media so our listeners can give you a follow.
Yeah, it's Todd_Miller03, I think. Yeah, that's it.
All right, we will make sure to tweet that out, Todd. Thank you so much for calling in. We hope to hear from you soon, man.
All right, yeah, thanks. Good talking, guys.
See ya. All right, that was Todd. Giving some pretty. He was a great caller to have on the show. Really gave some nice insight. And I thought he hit the nail on the head in pretty much every point he gave. I think we were kind of in the same wavelength there. That was one of the few times on the Jet Take where I've seen everybody on the line at once was just kind of in agreement, just total accord. Yeah, it's because it's normally, and we have Scott coming on in a bit. When he comes on, it's all hell's gonna break loose. We have a caller before him. 315, we'll bring you on the line again. Another new caller, so we don't know your name. So 315, you were on the line. How's it going, and what's your name?
Hey, my name's Dave. How are you?
We're good. Again, just excited that we actually have something to talk about now on this show. Dave, your thoughts on the Jets free agency so far?
Well, I got to say the beginning got me really nervous. The first day of tampering, I was just I was really prepped up to the point where it was like 12 o'clock. I was rushing to get home and just really excited for lunch break. And then it was quiet, and it was still quiet. And I was like, oh, man, this is 2014 all over again until, we started making the big signings. And then, of course, now I'm seeing what they had planned. Excuse me. So, I was really excited.
It was the plan the whole time, the 100%.
Oh, yes, absolutely. To kind of keep us on this roller coaster of emotion. It's totally planned.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like in past regimes you've had a lot of leaks, and it's frustrating as a fan because you're just kept in the dark. But Maccagnan has been very good about. There's not too many leaks, and if something leaks, it normally ends up happening. The Jets leaked interest in Avery Williamson, it normally ends up happening. But I mean, who had any sort of story that the Jets were interested in Isaiah Crowell? Nobody. Teddy Bridgewater didn't really break until after they missed on Cousins. So I think it's frustrating. But again, I knew that they were probably going to sign somebody just because you have the most cap space in the league, and I think just the backlash from the fans also combined with this is really his biggest offseason. This is it for him. He needs to have a good offseason here. So I had a feeling he was going to probably break in here with a few signings. I thought once the Jets missed on Cousins, I thought Trumaine Johnson was probably a likelihood. Talking about Trumaine Johnson, we'll move back to the secondary. That seems to be the most exciting part of Jets football at the moment. What are your thoughts on what the Jets have done and could do over the next few days with finding that new outside corner, the possibility of adding Tyrann Mathieu, taking out Buster Skrine? Just your overall thoughts on the Jets secondary and how it's looking for next year.
So far, so good. To see a corner out there that is a good lockdown. I think I heard somewhere top 10 corner. Just gets you really excited to kind of maximize our two safeties. One thing I was confused about with Mathieu, I think it was that people were saying he was a safety, and a couple of people have explained that he could be like a slot corner. So then eventually we cut Skrine and everything else. If that's the case, I'm all on board. I was just hoping that it wouldn't be like we're getting a safety when we could actually go out and sign maybe another corner or something like that. Not that he wouldn't be a good player. I was just thinking, kind of more spending in a way that was a little like, we have the money, let's, kind of be a little greedy here, And I was hoping that wasn't the case, but I'm hearing that that's not how it is.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few Jets fans have this fear of, hey, this is a team full of a lot of holes. Yes, we have a lot of money, but let's spend it wisely here. Let's not just, throw a huge party and just give money out because, Tyrann Mathieu is Todd Bowles' family and he's an exciting player. But no, he does fill a need. He can play corner. He can play safety. I mean, one, the Jets love to play three safeties. So in any sort of look, it looks like Tyrann Mathieu is going to be on the field pretty much all the time. Even if he's a slot corner, he's going to either be in the nickel package as a slot corner or in other packages as that third safety on the field. So, I mean, he's going to get as much run as pretty much any other defensive back on the Jets. Also, yeah, he can be a very good slot corner. He played corner under Bowles, had his best years there. So, no, I think he can play corner. He's a good move. And really kind of the biggest draw outside of all the obvious ones of Todd Bowles' connection, his stepdaughter's connection, the players wanting him, Jamal Adams' connection, all that stuff. The most intriguing thing is you can upgrade a position of need tremendously on a high-end player without spending as much money, because the Jets can cut Buster Skrine, free up $6 million, and even if Mathieu makes a $10 million a year contract, which would be a pretty big contract, it's still only $4 million added to your salary cap. So you can really look at that as a $4 million deal for the Jets, which is a terrific move. I think the Jets should be all over it. I mean, as Todd said, it's almost too obvious that it won't happen. I mean, I've seen plenty of Jets players recruiting him. Even our Darius Stewart had hopped on board on Twitter just a few moments ago. Jets fans are united in this one. The players are. I know probably Coach Bowles is. I have a feeling that the Jets should get this one done, but I don't want to jinx it. And again, as a Jets fan, you never know. I could always see a team like the Giants sweeping in and just crushing Jets fans' hearts.
Right.
Yeah, but moving forward, do you have any other free agents? We're going to get a lot of calls about Tyrann Mathieu, but outside of Mathieu, are there any other free agents that you're looking for the Jets to target, or at least any other positions?
You guys were talking about tight end earlier. I think that would be smart if we can't get Austin back. I think we seem to have center locked up for the most part. A lot of people were hoping for Jensen, it looked like. I'm trying to think as far, maybe another corner would probably, I mean, of course, you get Mathieu, you'd be pretty solid there. Re-sign Mo, perhaps. Honestly, the big free agent signings I was looking at that I was like thinking, okay, we really got to get this pretty much filled up. I feel really good about Teddy as kind of like just a let's see what happens. Could be the starter for the next 10 years type thing if he's healthy, if it works out. And it's a worthy gamble. I love it. And, but like I said, I got really excited about the Teddy signing. He was kind of my plan B with Kirk Cousins. A little disappointed about the Kirk Cousins thing, but, again, if we move up in the draft and grab a guy, then it'll all be worth it.
Yeah, and you touched on it on Teddy Bridgewater. What are your feelings on the quarterback position, on what the Jets' plan is going into the draft? You seem pretty content with rolling with a guy like Teddy Bridgewater. Is that correct?
I think I was telling my friend this today. It may not be the most popular thing. I would say if we didn't sign Teddy and we just got McCown, and as I'll say, we just got McCown and we didn't draft a guy, like we wanted the best player available, I would be like really down. I'd be furious with Mac. But the thing is, if that scenario has to happen, I'm happy that we have Teddy. Like, I won't be as devastated, but I really feel it would be wise to get the quarterback, move up if you need to. Honestly, we're at that point. You got to swing as many times as you can. This has a lot of options. I think next year, honestly, if we draft that guy, we could walk away with the franchise quarterback. I mean, I feel more confident about it than I ever have before. So, of course, you'll never know. But, I mean, you're taking a good approach. You're paying Josh McCown, I guess, to be a very expensive quarterback coach. I mean, he could go out there and play. But I almost feel like, what he brings to the locker room, what he brings to the team is very valuable, too. So maybe they're paying him for that as well. But it's a lot of money for a coach. But as far as I'm concerned, I feel good moving forward as it stands now, if that makes any sense.
And what exactly what you just said is probably what Maccagnan's feelings are. I think, he was at Baker Mayfield's Pro Day, which for a GM during the official start of free agency, that's a pretty big sign that he's interested. And I might even go as far to say as Baker Mayfield might be his top quarterback. I think you're right there.
For sure.
let's just pray to God it's not Josh. Actually, I don't think it's Josh Allen because I think Christian Hackenberg scared him off of project quarterbacks who have bad accuracy. But I think you're right. I think Maccagnan is.
I think Bryce Petty would have did that, but
no, I don't think a 4th round pick did it for him. But I think you're right because I think that the addition of Bridgewater at least gives first some guy on the roster with some upside. The most dour part of last season was that your starting quarterback for 13 games last year was hitting 40 soon. It's like, well, what's the future with this guy? This guy has been a mediocre quarterback his entire career, and what are you getting out of this? You're a young team trying to build and grow. He had benefits last year, but what is he really going to bring into year 2? Because let's not let the Jets fall into, and this is why I'm a bit against giving McCown $10 million. Is one, you have no other. There's not really any other suitors for McCown. McCown doesn't want to move his family again. He wanted to stay in New York. I don't know why you gave him $10 million when you probably could have given him $6 or $7 million. Let's not fall into the Fitzpatrick thing where we think this mediocre career journeyman quarterback who's late in his 30s had a great year is going to replicate that year 2. McCown, and I'm going to say it now, McCown will not be as good as he is this year as he was last year. It's not happening. He might be just barely as good. But with his injury concerns in the past, I'm just telling you he is not going to replicate it again. And not like what he was replicating was anything close to Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick at least put up 31 touchdowns, 15 touchdowns. McCown was just a competent quarterback. I think at the best that's what you're getting. With Bridgewater, he gives you a guy with some upside. He gives you a guy who was a Pro Bowl quarterback before he got hurt. So I agree with you. I think the Jets' plan is going to be take best player available at 6. If Mayfield, Rosen, or Darnold is there, he's going to take Mayfield, Rosen, or Darnold, whoever's there. Or whoever's his top quarterback if 2 or 3 are available. If none of them are there, he's going to take Bradley Chubb or whoever else. Quentin Nelson could be another one, which is arguably a smart strategy. I don't think Maccagnan wants to trade up, but I think it's in his back pocket. And what I'm saying is, and I said it to Todd, if the draft, I think they're going to wait till the draft happens. If the draft board starts to shake out, like there's an early run in quarterbacks, you hop on it immediately, trade up, just get him. I have a fear Maccagnan won't because of the Teddy signing, but I think he should. But I don't think anybody should trade up for now because, again, as I said, the Jets are going to look stupid if a quarterback falls to 6 and you trade it up your 1st-round pick next year and your 2nd-round pick this year to move up 3 spots and get somebody. Anyways, let's move on here to the defensive line. A bit of a unheralded position here. Replacing Muhammad Wilkerson, which, again, you could put Kyle out there and you'd probably get a better pass rush than we got from Muhammad Wilkerson last year.
Have you seen my spin move? Come on, Ben. Don't.
Dwight Freeney out here.
Honestly.
Are there any guys that you're looking at, or at least if there's no guys that come to your head, is there just a certain type of guy? Do you think the Jets should address it in free agency, go with a lower tier guy, a guy in the draft? Just what are your thoughts, or an in-house guy? What are your thoughts on how the Jets should replace Muhammad Wilkerson going into next year? There's rumors about Sheldon Richardson. Just your overall thoughts on the defensive end position.
I've thought about Sheldon Richardson. The issue I would have with that is, from what I remember, they released him because of character flaws. And it would look like a huge steal if they go out in free agency, get him back after giving him away and getting that 2nd-round pick. So I feel like I'd like it for that reason, but I'd be worried because I feel like they got rid of him because of the locker room, because of that sort of influence that he had there. So I'm kind of split on that. I would say just somebody with some upside that's young, as we've been doing, I think would be smart. Our D-line is good. This is actually to answer the previous question about another free agent that we could bring in. I'd like to see somebody who can, like an outside linebacker, somebody that's a pass rusher. I don't think we've really hit the market on that, although I don't know if the market was really big on that. Once the Cowboys re-signed,
DeMarcus Lawrence?
Yeah, look that up. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Kyle came in there clutch.
So I don't. Yeah, I know.
I
drew a blank there. So once he was off, and then Ansah was out, you just kind of think, okay, the market isn't too heavy. But I'm hoping we can still grab somebody who could be a pass rusher, take off some of that pressure off of Leonard Williams.
Yeah, and Kyle, I want to get your thoughts on who you would like to see the Jets replace Muhammad Wilkerson with.
I mean, it's not hard to do it. Literally look at anybody. They will give you more effort, they will give you more production, and they will be more worth the money than what we spent on that careless, worthless, moralless, I guess. Lack of morality.
Morality? Like what?
Yes.
Just made up a word?
Yes. I couldn't find a word
immoral?
in the English dictionary. I said
make up words at this point.
Yeah, it's immoral. Okay. Keep going. Hey. We all got what you said. We all got it.
Yeah. Waste of money. And apparently alcoholic. Muhammad Wilkerson.
All right. Keep it moving. We get the
point. You can literally sign a defensive tackle if you wanted to, like Dontari Poe, and you'd probably get similar production for Muhammad Wilkerson. Probably be cheaper, too. So if you want to look at that, I mean, right now, if I'm being dead honest with you, Ben, there's nobody on the market, in exception to Sheldon Richardson, who I would waste money on as a edge rusher or defensive end, if we're talking about replacing Muhammad Wilkerson. Nobody really catches my eye. I think we're going to have to look at the draft. It's a buy we put into. It's unfortunate, but, the world goes round. We'll figure it out when the time comes.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, and just to recap, I think Maccagnan has the right approach here. Go with just a lower budget guy, Adrian Claiborne, Benson Mayowa. I don't want to mess up his name. Just a guy like they were interested in Daquan Jones from the Titans. Just a lower guy, preferably younger. Claiborne's 29, so he'd be on the older side, but preferably just a younger guy you can plug in there. You don't need a huge J.J. Watt type of player. You don't need to go spend big money. You just need a regular.
It would be nice.
Oh, okay, if you could get J.J. Watt, maybe. But the philosophy is you just need a guy to take pressure off Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams is your J.J. Watt in that scenario. So just get a guy like Adrian Claiborne or somebody who can just be stout against the run, get after the quarterback, take up blocks. Now, lastly, I just want to ask you here, and it's what we asked Todd, and I know you talked about tight end just for a bit, but I wanted to get it sounds like ASJ probably won't return to New York to New York after reading some of these tweets here. I still could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. Do you have a guy that you have in mind to replace him?
You talked about Ebron. I like him. Man, we really got a lot of tight ends from that class then if we get Ebron. I feel like we would have just trying out.
We'd have like all three top tight ends in that class.
Yeah, exactly. And I liked all of them, to be honest with you, when we were going into that draft. So, I mean, hey, take your pick. I'd like to see Ebron. That's one that I, have kind of targeted. But again, if we get a lower guy, that's fine. But you got to get somebody that can really have a catch. I think it's Ephron or something. Tyler from the Bengals.
Oh, Eifert, yeah. Eifert, yeah.
Eifert, yeah. Okay. I don't know what I said, but that, yeah, something. Yeah. He would be a good flyer. We could try on him, and so those would probably be my top two for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Eifert is exciting because when he's healthy, he's a Pro Bowl tight end, but the problem is he's never really healthy. The Jets have been known of taking
like J.J. Watt.
The Jets, and he also wears the same arm brace. The Jets have been known though at taking guys. I mean, literally throughout the past decade or 2 decades of just taking guys with high injury concerns, but have been very productive when they're healthy, taking them, putting them on a different sort of practice schedule, and they've ended up playing more games than they have in the past. You can pretty much look all around the league or all around every offseason. The Jets seem to add a guy like a Morris Claiborne. I believe Kelvin Beachum was another example of it. Even a guy like LaDainian Tomlinson. So just they like to take guys who have injury problems that they can help and with their training staff. So I think that would be a solid move. I wanted to get two more thoughts. I know we just talked about the tight ends. That was a little specific. The Other corner besides Matthew, outside, is there a specific guy you'd like the Jets to invest there, whether it be Claiborne, Gaines, Melvin? Is there just a guy you're looking at to play that outside corner job, that corner role?
Oh, so I've been refreshing Twitter for EJ Gaines for a long time just to see if there's any movement there. I think he would be good. We'd be stealing him from Buffalo, if I'm right. So that's always fun. I live kind of in the quote-unquote Buffalo territory, so it would be really nice to just kind of hear them complain a little more. I got Buffalo friends. I love them to death, but, when it comes to the Jets, I like to, kind of pillage their village, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I'd be totally fine with taking EJ Gaines. And I think, is Breeland signed? I can't.
Yeah, I think he went Panthers.
Okay.
I believe he went Panthers, yeah. But,
that's right. Okay. Gaines. So, yeah, he's gone. So, yeah, we'll go for Gaines. I think that would be cool. Yeah, that would probably be my top target. Obviously, we talked about, the other ones. But, Gaines I really like.
Yeah, and Gaines is my top choice, too. He's also a bit younger. He's 26, so when you're adding a guy like Tremaine Johnson, who's 28, Morris Claiborne's also 28 or 29, so I'd like to just take it a bit younger if they can. Last question, Just how would you grade Maccagnan's free agency so far?
It's so funny how my position had swapped. Talking to my buddy about this on Twitter back and forth, but just at the start, right on day one, I was sweating bullets. I thought, man, we're just going to sit out on this. I almost thought, I was like, don't we have to spend this money? Like, what's going on? And then, once the deal started rolling in, I'm like, okay. Like, there were literally people that were posting, like, GIFs of, like, sleeping people and, just like, it's kind of like, guys, you have one job, let's do this, So, but to see them go in and fill in these places, I have a theory as to why they were so quiet. First of all, it was good that they kept everything indoors, like you guys were saying. Just really a fortress there. Nobody getting any information out. But I also think they were working hard to try to get the Kirk Cousins thing done. They realized it wasn't going to happen, and then all of a sudden the floodgates opened wide. So it was good. I would give them, I think at this point, a B+, and I put them in an A category if they're able to fill a couple more rules so that, like, if we do trade up in the draft, you're not as worried about the holes on the roster because, we have all this money to use because we're not using it on Kirk Cousins. So essentially, you're taking the majority of free agency, the money there, getting young players and everything else. So if you think you're going to have to trade up, you're not as worried about filling those holes through the draft, which I know Mac is big on, but I think, you got to do what you got to do to get that QB. So I'd say a B+, and if they keep filling those, because it's not done yet, so if they keep filling those holes, they're going to get themselves up to an A. Been loving it so far.
Yeah, I think if they can get a tight end, Gaines and Matthew, I would give them an A, I think. I think at this point. Going into the draft, is that too much to ask? I mean, just get either an Ebron, Eifert, or ASJ at tight end, and then just get Gaines and Matthew, and I think they're looking pretty good. I mean, obviously, I'd also like to add a defensive end. That's just kind of another guy you can plug in. But besides that, I think Mac has done a terrific job. Anyways, thank you so much for your call. Just shout out your social media for our listeners so they can give you a follow.
Sure. DJ18 on Twitter, so DEJAY 18, because people just put D and then J, and then it gets really confusing. So that's me on Twitter. My buddy and I are working on a podcast ourselves called the Taco Tuesday Show, and you can sort of find that on YouTube if you look really hard because we're not big at all. So, we talk about it somewhere. So.
Well, we just passed you the follow, but thank you for calling in. We love new callers. Again, you and Todd both brought the heat. Both very smart guys and knowledgeable Jets fans. So we hope to hear from you. Hope to hear from you soon, and good luck on your podcast.
Thank you.
Well, I'll look up Taco Tuesday and see what it's about.
It's pretty weird, but you guys, hopefully you'll enjoy it. So maybe you'll get a laugh or two.
We're into weird. I don't know if you've noticed that. We're
great.
Kyle's a freak, so that's all good.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm
perfect.
Thanks for calling in, man.
All right. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, another great call there. I'm really loving two new callers.
If you guys are into weird, I wonder how long he's been listening to the show to say if you guys are into weird. I mean,
Kyle literally sidetracked every call with just some weird, just non-relevant comment. But yeah, two great, pretty smart Jets fans there. So yeah, and I think he'd be a great podcaster as well. Speaking of podcasters, we have one on the line, willing to talk some football with us. He's a bit of our moderator, yet he seems to stoke the flames as well. He comes off as, the mediator, but it seems every time this man comes on the line, Kyle and I are pitted against each other. So without further ado, we'll bring on Scott Mason from the Play Like a Jet podcast, a fellow member of the Turn on the Jets family. Scott, how you doing, man?
Well, Ben, I have to say I'm good and I'm bad. It's the life of the Jets fan. And it's been a weird couple of days for sure. Let's see how this turns out. There's been a lot of good, some bad that has really set me off. I actually just got finished recording a podcast that will be coming out later tonight with Corey Griffin from NBC Sports, and we had a bit of a therapy session. We've been doing every night. Somebody's been coming on to go over the news of the day. Once free agency started on Monday, we had Connor Hughes from The Athletic. And yesterday it was the other Connor Rogers, to report and stick to the Jets. And then tonight it's Corey Griffin. And I got to tell you guys, most of the moves I liked. Everybody knows that I really like Spencer Long a lot. I think he's an above-average center. He's athletic. He's versatile because he can play both center and guard. And I think there's room for him to improve. So I think that was a good move. I like the Tremaine Johnson move because I think that Tremaine Johnson was the best corner on the market. He's not a shutdown corner per se, but when you have $100 million and you have a desperate need of corner and a guy that really fits your system well because he's a press man corner, which is exactly what Todd Bowles likes. He's big, he's physical. I think he's going to fit into this team very well, the defense very well. And he played with Denard Wilson, too, for a couple of years with the Rams. Isaiah Crowell, he's still relatively young, only 25 years old, not a ton of tread on the tires. He's a guy that 2 years ago averaged 4.8 yards per carry, and he didn't cost them a lot, so that's cool. I like the Avery Williamson move. It's like he's a younger, cheaper version of Mario Davis, so that's a positive for sure. And I think that when it comes down to it, the main thing that I was really nervous about was the quarterback position, and I'm still nervous about it. Obviously, the thing that I really wanted to happen was for them to get Kirk Cousins, and that didn't happen until whatever. Plan B, we all assume, was sign Josh McCown and then go ahead and get yourself a quarterback in the draft. Well, they signed Josh McCown and they signed Teddy Bridgewater, and it's kind of confusing. I like Teddy Bridgewater because he's got upside. He hasn't played in 2 years, so that's the downside, and that's why he signed a contract that's for $5 million and $10 million in sprinkled incentives. And Josh McCown, the reason that the Jets gave him $10 million is still kind of up in the air to me. I don't really understand it. I'm so tired of this whole, well, he's like a coach on the field. Well, then hire him as a coach then, if that's the thing. Otherwise, pay him what a marginal backup should get. Pay him what he got last year, $5-6 million. I don't know why they had to run and pay him $10 million. But what I'm worried about, Ben, and this is what's been stressing me out, and I went on a rant last night with Joe Caporoso about this.
You also yelled at me, still waiting on an apology.
Yeah, you're not getting one.
Okay.
Because, Kyle, I ranted at you, but it wasn't directed at you. It was just, listen, this is the deal.
You said you wanted to slap me. You said you wanted to slap me.
I did say I wanted to slap. That's fair. Okay. I shouldn't have said I wanted to slap you, but I meant it in a playful way. But let me put it this way. The reason I said that, and I did say this to you, I did say this to you when I said it. It's because, look, I've seen this movie a million times. I've been watching this team for over 30 years, and I can't tell you how frustrating.
I didn't even remember that. You called me a kid, which is
well, you are a kid. That's not an insult. It's just it's a fact. It's not an insult. But anyway, the main thing that I'm upset about is that what I'm afraid of, and I talked to Corey Griffin about this, and you'll hear it a little bit later tonight at TOJ Digital. What really upset me is the fact that if they went out and they spent money on McCown and they went out and they spent money on Teddy Bridgewater, now you're looking at a situation where I'm afraid that Mike Maccagnan is going to sit there and say, and I heard Ben say this, and I wanted to jump through the phone, and no offense, Ben, I want to slap you for saying this as well. But I heard, I can just hear it in my head, Mike Maccagnan going into the draft and essentially saying, well, we got Teddy Bridgewater, and we got Josh McCown.
I wasn't saying that's what they should do. I'm saying that's what they're going. I wasn't saying that's what they should do. I'm saying that's what they're going.
No. I know. I agree. What I meant was I want to slap you for even putting the idea out there. But I love both of you guys, so I meant it more in a playful way. But
yes.
What I'm worried about is that they're going to go into this and they're going to say, well, we got Josh McCown, we got Teddy Bridgewater. So listen, if we get a quarterback at number 6, cool. If not, we'll just take Quentin Nelson or something, and maybe we'll get a quarterback day 2 or day 3. And, well, whatever. If that guy doesn't pan out, then we'll take another guy in a couple of years. You can't do that. Enough of this. I've seen this so many times. Here's the deal. You've got the Bills that are making an aggressive move to go up. The Dolphins might as well. And listen, the thing about it is you have a situation with the Dolphins where we know their general manager very well because he was the Jets general manager for several years, and he's a very, very aggressive general manager when it comes to making moves to go up to get guys that he likes. Now, does he really like Baker Mayfield? We don't know. There's been some rumblings about it. From what I heard, he wasn't there at the pro day today, whatever. What I'm concerned about is that Maccagnan's going to sit there at 6 and just let the board fall, which is what he tends to do. Normally, I'm okay with that, but not in this situation. I'm not saying he has to make a trade today, but what I am saying is when you have Darnold, more than likely, according to our good friend and Kyle's surrogate father, Jeff Lloyd, who's doing Locked On Browns, he says that Sam Darnold is almost a lock to go number 1 to the Browns. And that's just what I've heard from most of the Browns people that seem to know what's going on there. So if that's the case, Darnold goes 1. After that, who knows? There's a lot of whispers that the Giants are going to go in another direction other than quarterback, but we don't know that. They could trade the pick. They could take Josh Rosen. They could take Mayfield. They could take Allen. We have no idea for sure what they're going to do because it's smokescreen season. All the reports seem to indicate that if they were to sit at 3, the Colts would like Bradley Chubb, but that they're very much open for business at number 3. At number 4, you'd have to imagine that the Browns, especially off of the move that they made today to get a running back, are going to think to themselves, hey, if somebody wants to give us a big contract to go ahead and move up, a big offer to go ahead and move up to number 4, we'd be willing to move out of that spot. And then you have the Broncos. I know they got Case Keenum, but he's only on a 2-year deal. And quite frankly, he's a placeholder quarterback. So, he's a nothing. He's a jag. He's a placeholder. So you could have a situation where the Broncos are going to want to go quarterback. So I don't want the Jets sitting at number 6 and just hoping that the board falls their way. It could. It absolutely could. It's certainly possible you sit at 6 and Rosen, because of his medical or because of his perceived attitude issues, or Mayfield because of his height or his character, whatever it is, that one of those guys falls. It could happen. That's not a risk I'm comfortable taking. And so I don't care if it ends up being that they traded up and the guy would have fallen. I'm willing to do that to secure the guy that I want. I personally prefer Baker Mayfield. A lot of the reason is because with Rosen, I worry a lot about those concussions. He's had 3 of them, and especially for a guy his size, he's not Cam Newton or Ben Roethlisberger. You worry that if he takes a nasty hit at the NFL level from one of these monster guys like J.J. Watt or something, who knows what happens. That said, I would still take him, don't get me wrong, but I would prefer Mayfield. But I'm not interested in a Jets team where they just kick the can down the road again because, listen, guys, we know how this works. We have no idea what the quarterback class is going to look like next year. On top of that, we have no idea where the Jets are going to finish. So now you know you're in striking distance. You can go from 6 to, say, 3, right? Next year, what if because of McCown or Bridgewater or whoever, they get to 8-8, now they're picking 14th, and you've got to give up way more to go up and get who you want. And you don't even know if there's a guy that you want, or maybe there's only one quarterback and no one's willing to trade because that guy – look at what happened with, Mariota and Winston. You have no idea how it's going to play out. So when you have these quarterbacks that I personally like, I don't know what they think of them, and I know you guys like both of them as well, you've got to make that move. You have to. And I don't want to hear that – and I like Teddy Bridgewater, and if he's perfectly healthy, he's a very good quarterback. He was on the rise. Everybody expected a breakout year in his third year. He had 2 solid, if unremarkable, seasons his first 2 years, but everybody expected a breakout year. Then he shattered his leg. He's 25, okay? And there's certainly a lot of upside there. And I like Bridgewater, and he would have been – and I talked to Michael Manning about this. He would have been my second choice after Cousins because he's the only guy that was a free agent that you could legitimately look at and say, this guy might be more than right? Because if Teddy Bridgewater's back to form, he's a pretty solid quarterback. But you cannot rely on him or a 39-year-old Josh McCown who, as you very astutely pointed out, Ben, has been a Jag his entire career, had the best year of his career last year with the Jets, but you can't possibly expect him to replicate that, right?
It wasn't even that amazing. Let's add that.
Yes, exactly. It was amazing for him. Yeah, exactly. It was the best that you're going to get out of him, but it wasn't like he went out there and was Aaron Rodgers for a season, right? So, to me, you've got to strike now. And I understand, Ben, that you're not saying they should do it, but my fear is that what you said is what's going to happen and that they're going to do what we all always see them do, what risk-averse Mike Maccagnan likes to do, sit and let the board break. And, I was talking to Corey Griffin about this earlier, too. It kind of gets on my nerves. He's doing, well, he has tried in the past. He tried to go – he investigated going up and getting Carson Wentz or Jared Goff, and he investigated going up for Mariota, but the price was just too high. All right, fine, I get it. But that can't be the same mentality this time. Like, there's really – let's be honest, there's really no price too high if you hit on the quarterback. Like, no one in Philly gives a damn who they gave up to get Carson Wentz, right? Nobody with the Rams cares who they gave up. No Texans fan cares one iota what the Texans gave up to get Deshaun Watson, right? And we'll see what happens with Mahomes, but if Mahomes turns out to be good, Chiefs fans are certainly not going to care. So that's where I'm coming at. I apologize for the really long rant, but I like the other moves. I just worry like crazy that I'm going to be sitting there on draft night sweating to death and praying that a quarterback falls in their lap and questioning whether or not Maccagnan would even pull the trigger on the quarterback if he makes it to him, or whether he's going to say, well, do we really need a quarterback that badly? We could go and get Quentin Nelson and build around that. So I don't know. That's my big fear. I hope that I'm wrong. Connor Rogers has tried to calm me down and said that, no, they're definitely going to pick a QB. Bob Wischusen was saying it to me on Twitter as well. So who knows? Nobody really knows. But I just want that uncertainty gone, guys. And this is a big part of the reason, too, why I really wanted Kirk Cousins, because it took that chance out of the air. There was no – if you get Cousins, it's something you don't have to worry about. You got a top 10 quarterback in his prime. He comes in, and now you can focus on other things. And now I'm back to worrying about the quarterback. I've been worrying about the quarterback, really, it seems like since Chad Pennington blew out his shoulder 15 years ago. I'm tired of it. I want them to solve the damn problem already. And I don't know what else to say at this point. Like I told Joe Caparoso yesterday, guys, if this happens where they don't get a quarterback, or they get a quarterback that I don't really consider to be any kind of answer, like Mason Rudolph, for instance, I am going to feel like a kid who spent all year looking forward to Christmas and is so excited to open his gifts and races downstairs on Christmas morning, and instead of a bunch of gifts under the Christmas tree, Mommy and Daddy are sitting there waiting to tell me that they're getting divorced. So I hope that's not what happens.
Hey, that could be a win depending on how the relationship is going.
You've got a fair point.
Come on.
It's a good point, Kyle. Your parents are fighting all the time, and you're going to get 2 Christmases out of it. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But you guys, that's where I'm at this point. I do like the other moves, and Joe Caparosa said it best. If they come out of this draft with Mayfield or Rosen, because I'm going to assume for now that Darnold's not in play, if they come out of the draft with one of those 2 guys, then I'll be happy, and I will be as pumped up as anybody else. But if they're going to do what I'm afraid they're going to do, I'm going to be incredibly upset, and I have a feeling many people are going to agree with me.
Yeah, Scott, so you said a lot there, a lot to unpack.
I threatened to kill myself if we draft Josh Allen, so, I mean, I don't think you're that
let's break this down. Yeah, that is almost the biggest fear. I would actually I would feel better if the Jets didn't draft a quarterback than if they drafted Josh Allen. I would rather roll into the season with Teddy Bridgewater and Josh McCown and take Bradley Chubb than draft Josh freaking Allen.
I agree.
That's the only scenario where I'm.
I would rather hope that Teddy Bridgewater finds his old form, because I think there's a much better chance of that than Josh Allen becoming a good pro.
Yeah, and I think that the one thing people aren't talking enough about is I think Teddy Bridgewater is actually a very good fit for what Jeremy Bates is going to, supposedly going to try to do. West Coast pass. So I think Teddy Bridgewater, if he is healthy, is kind of the ideal and I shouldn't say ideal, because the ideal quarterback is always Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. But he's kind of the baseline. Get him, and you can win ball games with him. So
I think that, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Ben, but I think to back up your point, I think the real proof that what you're saying is true is the fact that there's zero chance that Teddy Bridgewater hits the open market if he was healthy. None. The Vikings would have just locked him up, and that would have been the end of it. So if he is back to form or even close to it, the Jets got a monumental bargain. And obviously the scenario that we could all pray for that would be awesome is the Jets trade almost like what happened with the Chargers, where they thought Drew Brees was a bust. Then all of a sudden he kind of found himself, and they got unlucky because he hurt himself and they had to let him go. But the other thing would have been if they could have franchised him, trade him for a first-round pick or something, and then rolled with Phillip Rivers. So if you trade up for, say, Mayfield or Rosen, Bridgewater ends up beating out McCown and has a really good season, you could theoretically slap the franchise tag on him and deal him, and that would be a great scenario because now you replenish some of the assets that you gave up to move up from Mayfield or Rosen or whatever. But the big question, of course, is he going to be anything close to what he was? But I will say, Ben, you're right, and I'll let you continue. I'm sorry to hijack this from you, but I think if he's even close to healthy, it's a steal, and he is a really good fit for what Bates likes to do.
Yeah, so, and Scott, you said everything that I was thinking there. I think, Scott, and as much as you don't want to hear it, is I think their plan is to sit there and wait. I don't think that would stop Maccagnan from trading up during the draft, but I don't think they're going to do it in the next few weeks. You are pretty close to being right. You might be right on this, that the Jets should just trade up and get their guy. But my feeling is if they've met with Teddy Bridgewater and they're comfortable with his knee and whatever, that they're saying, look, we don't really know if Teddy Bridgewater is the answer. We definitely know it's not Josh McCown, but we're content with the QBs we have in the roster. We're going to sit at 6 and see how the board breaks. But if a quarterback goes early and if the Giants take a quarterback or whatever, we're going to trade up then. And you're right, the price is going to shoot up, and they could miss out, especially if the Bills, what if the Bills trade up to 3, and then Darnold goes number 1, and then the Giants take Rosen, and then you're screwed because the Bills aren't going to trade back at that point. Then you have to hope one of them takes Allen and whatever. And
if I can add to that, the other thing about Teddy Bridgewater is you can't possibly be comfortable with these two quarterbacks. You can't, because Josh McCown's 39 and coming off an injury, and like you said, he's coming off a career year that nobody in their right mind would expect him to repeat, and it wasn't that great to begin with. We've kind of turned it into some amazing accomplishment when it was really a solid, if nothing, amazing season. And Bridgewater, by the time we get to the preseason when there's actual live game action, he won't have played other than a couple of snaps in garbage time, killing the clock and blowouts. He won't have actually really played in a game in 2.5 years. And coming off that huge leg injury, if the Jets are thinking to themselves what you just said, and I think they probably are, it just, to me, even drives me even more crazy. And I've said this before, and I will say it again. If McCown comes back without Mayfield, Rosen, or Darnold, now that Cousins is gone, I would fire him after the first round. Me personally, I would fire him after the first round. But, knowing Woody and Christopher Johnson, who knows? They'll go 8-8 with McCown and Bridgewater, won't pick a quarterback, and he'll get another 3-year contract extension.
Yeah, no, I mean, who's to say Bridgewater goes out and has a career year, the Jets get Bradley Chubb, and he's the next Dwight Freeney, whatever. Sure. The Jets turn out to be.
You can't bank on that.
No, they can't. I will say this, Scott, if it makes you feel any better, the one the one thing, the slimmer of hope you can hold on to, is that you're the darkness that drags him down. Is that Mike Maccagnan was at Baker Mayfield's pro day today.
Right.
During the opening of free agency, and I don't mean to say anything, like the Dolphins weren't there, a lot of GMs weren't there because this is arguably the most important time. They're making calls to deals. Mike Maccagnan is not done. He has deals to work out, but he traveled to Oklahoma just to watch Baker Mayfield in person, and he watched him his entire pro day. That tells me that he's very interested in Baker Mayfield. And honestly, if the Jets weren't interested in taking a quarterback, I don't think he'd be there. I think he would have sent a scout and would have focused on a lot of other teams did. Because, I mean, look, you've already seen Baker Mayfield's tape. You watched his combine. What more do you get from pro day? All he gains is that he gets to see him one more time in person. It tells me that he's very interested. So, Scott, you may be right. They may trade up. I'll tell you this. I think they're very interested in taking a quarterback. Whether they trade up or not, I think, is the question at this point.
That's what I'm worried about, Ben, to be sure. That's what I'm nervous about. But I think I think they're definitely interested to an extent. The question to me is just how interested are they? Are they interested enough to really make that bold move that they really need to make? And we're going to find out.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I think the other thing that this points to is the signing of Isaiah Crowell. Does this mean that the Jets are willing or knowing that they might part with a second-round pick or two possibly and not be able to take a running back in the second round? So, therefore, you sign Crowell, you assure that you have a power back, and you can address other needs in the third and fourth round. That might be another sign that they could trade up.
It's funny you said that because last night Connor Rogers came on, and like I said, when he called me to tape, he called literally as the Tremaine Johnson news was breaking, so that worked out well timing-wise. But when he called, I said to him, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, he's, like, talking me off a ledge. I felt like one of these guys that, like, wife just left him, and somebody has to calm him down. And he just said, dude, it's fine. It's fine. It'll be fine after the draft. Don't worry about it. I was like, really? He goes, dude, come on. They just signed Isaiah Crowell. They got a running back. They know they're not going to be able to draft one because they're going to have to move up in the draft. It's fine. It's going to be all right. They're going to trade up. They're going to get Mayfield or Rosen. Don't worry about it. So to build on your point, that was what Connor believes. I think Matt Miller thinks that too, that them signing Crowell was them hedging about the fact that there's a good chance they're going to have to use picks to move up. So if that is why they signed Crowell, then great. I will be the happiest man in the world.
Yeah. I think this is going to be the question for the next 4 weeks. And some can argue that maybe signing Cousins, some can argue maybe the large motive, and it seems to be a big part of your motive for signing Cousins, was almost, and don't take this the wrong way, but almost a play to not lose but not to win. Meaning you want to sign Cousins, you get I know. I'm not saying that's all of it, but I'm saying it's almost like you just want to get like, I don't care if he's 29, I don't care how much money he's going to cost. Get him, you have a guy, and you can build around him. I understand it. I don't mean to say anything. I wanted Cousins as well.
Sure.
But if I was faced with the option of signing Cousins or knowing that we were going to have a shot at Mayfield, Mayfield, Rosen, or Darnold, I would probably go with the rookie quarterback.
I almost just blamed
for
you.
where the team is at right now.
I almost just got on you, Ben.
For where
it
the
depends,
team is right,
Ben.
I would almost rather take a quarterback if I know. But I'm seeing what I'm saying. So I see what you're saying and why you wanted Cousins and why I wanted Cousins as well. But
I also believe a lot in Cousins as a quarterback. I see what you're saying, though. I mean, if you really believe that Mayfield, Rosen, or Darnold is special, and I don't mean really good, I mean like top 6 level special, then yeah. And if the Jets were sitting at, say, number 1 or number 2, then yeah. But when you're at 6, man, it's hard. And when Kirk Cousins is an established top 10 QB who's in his prime, and that's part of it too. I really like Cousins. If it wasn't, it's not just like, oh yeah, you know,
from Alabama.
And Kirk, nicely done, Kyle. Good job there.
Thank
but
you.
Or I was gonna say, well, you could say West Virginia too, I suppose. But the thing is, if it was, and no disrespect, because I know that Travis Wingfield loves him. I'm not super high on Tannehill, but if it was like, hey, it's Ryan Tannehill, or you draft a guy, I'd say, nah, give me the draft, because Tannehill to me is middle of the pack. I really like Cousins, so that was my whole thing there. But yeah, no, Ben, listen, I think it's a different discussion if the Jets were at number 1 and number 2, rather than the uncertainty in having to trade up. So we'll see what happens. But like you said, this is going to be the question of the next month plus.
All right, I want to get your prediction on what happens. I'm going to give you mine. I think the Jets are going to stay at 6, and I think they're going to get Mayfield. The only team that I really fear about who would take Mayfield would be the Bills hopping the Jets. Hopefully, the Bills would be more interested in Allen, possibly because he's played in cold weather, or Rosen just because a lot of scouts see him as a better prospect. So if the Bills trade up to 3 and the Giants would take a quarterback, I think that the Jets might have a real shot at Mayfield. I think the Broncos are either going to take Bradley Chubb, Saquon Barkley, or trade down, and whoever trades up might take or they could take Allen. I think the Broncos actually might take Allen. I think Allen might be their top quarterback because I think Elway might be. This is all speculation, but I think you get Keenum and then you have Allen be able to sit in. You're right. It kind of in the way Patrick Mahomes.
Wait, what
used,
about Paxton Lynch?
Okay, Paxton Lynch is the equivalent of Christian Hackenberg in Denver, except he's high all the time. I think you have Case Keenum is your 2-year stopgag. You develop Josh Allen and develop him into this all-world quarterback he supposedly can be based off his physical traits. I have a feeling Denver's going to go Josh Allen. I have a feeling that Cleveland's going to go probably Darnold, as you're right, and I think the Bills are going to either go Rosen or Mayfield, and I think the other one is going to go to the Jets. I have a feeling Bills are going to go Rosen, but I could see them going Mayfield. But my prediction is the Jets are going to find a way to land either actually, I'm going to change that. I'm going to change it. I'm going to say the Jets get Rosen, Bills go Mayfield. Now that I think about it, I don't think the Bills are going to draft a guy from California. But anyways, point still stands. The Jets are going to find the Jets going to be starting Josh Rosen next year at some point. Would be my prediction. I hope it's Baker Mayfield. As you said, I prefer him. I think Josh Rosen as one of the most precise arms I've seen.
Sure.
Almost like a Peyton Manning-esque, like just gets it there perfect every time. The problem with him is the frame, shoulder injuries, concussions. Are you worried about that?
Don't forget the hot tub.
I'm not. The hot tub. I'm not really worried about his so-called attitude. If you've ever listened to him speak, he's very eloquent, well-spoken. Seems like a very smart guy. Are his political beliefs maybe contradicting for what Willie Johnson believes?
Who cares?
Yeah, it's honestly like
that shouldn't matter.
I don't really care what he's saying politically as long as he's not a nut job. I prefer Mayfield, but I think the Jets are going to end up anyways. Whole ramble. I think the Jets will stay at 6, keep both their second-round draft picks, keep their first next year, and wind up with either Rosen or Mayfield next year. That is the best-case scenario as of right now.
Yeah, of course. That would be great if that happens.
Scott, your prediction on what will happen, not necessarily what you want, but what will happen.
Well, I'm going to say that I think Darnold goes number 1. I think that's pretty much a lock at this point. After that, man, it gets kind of hairy. I think that the Giants, they could move. They could pick Rosen or Mayfield. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm going to say that they take Saquon Barkley at number 2. At number 3, I think the Colts are going to trade out, and I think this is where the Bills move up. And I think that this is the question. Which quarterback do they like? Do they like Allen? There's whispers they like Josh Allen. So I don't know. But I think they take a quarterback at 3. At number 4, again, you could see another team move up. Miami, Arizona is rumored to want to move up. This could be the spot where the Jets move up if they move up at all. So a quarterback could go there. And I'll tell you this, I think if one of those quarterbacks makes it to 5, whether Mayfield or Allen, I think there's a very good chance that John Elway takes one of them. So man, it's so hard. The reason why, and I was trying to explain this to some guy, it was cracking me up. You guys will appreciate this. Some guy was getting on my case for saying that I'm an idiot for suggesting the Jets trade up because the mock drafts. What mock draft has
I was in that thread.
Yeah, you saw that? It was so stupid. I was like, dude, it's because they're not predicting trades. Like, none of these mock drafts, they're fun, but they're never right because they can't predict trades and nobody really knows what these guys want to do. So because we can't predict trades, it's so hard to say. I absolutely could see a scenario, and Mike Silver was talking about this on NFL Network the other day, where 4 quarterbacks go in the top 5. It's absolutely feasible that happens. So I don't know.
Yeah,
you know,
I just have
it's
a feeling
hard.
that
I don't know.
I just have a feeling the Bridgewater signing signals the Jets are going to stay at 6 and see how it goes. And I think
I think you're right, and then I think that's a mistake. It's a big mistake.
I think he has a feeling that he's going to take a gamble here. I think he says, you know what, we have McCown, we know what he is. We have Bridgewater. He's at least a guy that has some potential and hope. And then I think he's just going to say, we're going to stay here at 6, and we're going to hope one of these 3 falls. Last thing on the quarterbacks, we'll ask you a little bit more about some other free agent stuff, and then we'll end the show here. I've seen now 2 reports. One from I don't want to butcher his name, Jeff Capellini.
You're talking about the Lamar Jackson thing?
Yes, and then there's another account who's swearing that he has a Jet source. That the Jets are very, very, very high on Lamar Jackson, and are going to stay at 6 or whatever, and then they could trade back and get Lamar or even take him at 6. What do you think about that? How would you feel? So you don't get Darnold, Mayfield, or Rosen, but you get Lamar Jackson. How would you feel about that? And also the Bridgewater-McCown thing could kind of line up with that because it would give Jackson some time to sit. How do you feel about possibly bringing in Lamar Jackson?
Here's what I'll say about that. First of all, I don't know if I believe those reports because it just doesn't seem like a Mike Maccagnan, Todd Bowles type of move. Lamar Jackson just doesn't seem like the type of player that they would be interested in. However, having said that, if the Jets didn't get let me say this to start with. I believe that Mayfield, Rosen, and Darnold are better prospects than Jackson by a reasonably good amount. However, I do like Jackson. He's the only other quarterback besides those 3 that I like. So, if the Jets went BPA at 6 and either traded back up or they traded down from 6 or they went Jackson at 6 or whatever, I can live with that because I like Jackson, and I think with the right schemes and the right coaching that he could turn into a good quarterback. Now, I think that the debate around him has really degenerated into something ugly and something stupid. He's a flawed prospect in the sense that he's got a lot of things that need to be worked on. He had his accuracy issues here and there, and he also was erratic as far as certain throws. He doesn't get enough credit for what he does well. The people that say that he's nothing but a runner, they're wrong, obviously. If you watch him, you can see that he can make reads and progressions. You can see that he can manipulate defenders with his eyes. He's not just Michael Vick, okay? And Michael Vick himself said that. But he's going to take some work and some development. So that's the thing. I'm fine with it. If that happens, I'll be okay. But anything short of that, to me, Lamar Jackson would be like getting the silver medal at the Olympics, and anything other than that, anything below Lamar Jackson would be like losing the qualifying round. So that's how I would feel about it. I can live with Lamar Jackson. I think that the people that – and, again, you know how this is. It's gotten into the whole racial stuff. I don't even want to touch on that again. It's really getting on my nerves because I really wish that both ends of that discussion could just discuss Lamar Jackson as quarterback prospect instead of everybody calling each other names and making assumptions about why other people think what they think. But that's how I feel about it. If they got him, I'd be okay with it. And as long as the coaching staff, and this is a question obviously, but as long as the coaching staff can properly develop him And I do think that it's possible. I think Bates has a scheme that would work well for him, and I think he could design some plays. I'd be okay with it. Wouldn't be my first choice, but I'd be okay with it.
Kyle, you've been silent for probably the last 30 minutes. What are your thoughts on Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, it's wild. I like Lamar Jackson. I personally do. He's quickly rising up my board. Probably going to see him ahead of some of the bigger name guys sooner rather than later when I start dropping some stuff on TOJ. Definitely going to be ahead, I guess, of the consensus number one pick according to Jeff Lloyd. So I like Lamar. We draft him at I don't think it would be smart to take him at 6 because I think he will be available later. But I do think he's worth a top 15 pick, so take that as however you want it. I would be ecstatic if we took Lamar Jackson. I look at him, and people want to make the comparison to Michael Vick. Yeah, that's fine. They're both black, they're both fast, and they both got good arms. I can see the comparison there. Just remember that Lamar Jackson's a better passer than him, and maybe a little less of a runner. So take that for what it may be. Michael Vick didn't go to jail. That guy is borderline Hall of Fame. You took away probably the best years of his career because he was sitting in a jail cell somewhere. Now, I'm not saying Lamar Jackson's going to be a Hall of Famer. I'm not even saying Lamar Jackson's going to be a Pro Bowler. I'm just saying there's the potential for Lamar Jackson based off his skill set to be better than what has been previous set by Michael Vick.
Yeah. All right, Scott. We've talked probably about 30 minutes on the quarterbacks. We're going to wrap up the show, but I want to get, Scott, you're obviously very insightful, so I want to get your thoughts on some other moves that the Jets could make. You recap free agency for us. We've gotten to the quarterbacks. Let's talk about potential moves the Jets could make over the next few days.
Okay.
I guess we'll start with I'll give you seem to be good with the open-ended questions, so I'll let you run here, Scott. Who are some other targets that you'd like the Jets to go after? Obviously, there's the reports of Honey Badger. They have a hole at tight end. They have a hole at outside linebacker, defensive end, outside corner.
It sounds like Austin Seferian-Jenkins accepted a contract somewhere, just want to say, based off his latest tweet.
Yeah, his tweet sounds like he might have accepted one in Seattle. He's saying, thank you for God for whatever. But anyways, but let's say he has it. Maybe the Jets offered him a contract. Who knows? Sounds like it was probably Seattle, though. But given that he's heading to Jacksonville, I don't know. Scott, you're just run here. Who do you think the Jets should go after in the next few days? Okay, Kyle.
Well, I would say that first and foremost, I would like another corner to go with Tremaine Johnson. I had a whole argument, and I know you guys saw it in the TOJ group chat with Dalvin Osorio today. I love Dalvin. He's like my long-lost brother, but we disagree on Buster Screen. I think he's straight trash. If I could take a page out of Kyle Smith's book on that one, I don't think he can cover on the boundary. I don't think he can cover in the slot. I think Buster Screen, the good slot corner, has been a myth perpetrated on us that it just simply isn't true. So I would love to see another corner come in so they could just get rid of him. I would like to see Honey Badger. How realistic is it? I don't know, depending on what he wants. But remember, his stepdaughter, Todd Bowles' stepdaughter, has a child with Honey Badger. And according to a couple of people, including Dion Bailey, who used to play over there, he says that Bowles loves Honey Badger so much that he actually has plays named after him. So if that's the case, you have to imagine that there's a chance there. I know some of the beat writers don't like the fit with those two guys, with Honey Badger, but the way I look at it is, if anybody can creatively scheme for him, it would be Todd Bowles. This would be one of the rare cases where I would actually say having Bowles would be an advantage, believe it or not, because I think that he could really do some nice things with him. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. As far as the corners that I was talking about to put on the boundary, I would like to see your guy Melvin is an interesting possibility. I know, Ben, you're big on him. You think he has the potential to be the next A.J. Bouye.
One more time? Rashaan Melvin?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, not to cut you off, I'm gonna let you keep going in a second. My only thing with Rashaan Melvin, and I was a big fan of him in my plan to get Kirk Cousins, and I still would be perfectly happy with Rashaan Melvin. But again, with signing Trumaine Johnson as their oldest free agent, he's 28. And Morris Claiborne's 29. Rashaan Melvin's also 28. I would lean at this moment in time as my number one corner to be the second corner is actually E.J. Gaines, because I think he'll be cheaper and he's younger.
Sure.
But I still love Rashaan Melvin, and I think Rashaan Melvin now when I say A.J. Boy, I don't think he's going to be A.J. Boy and like put up that type of numbers. But what I meant is I think he's going to be a guy who's going to sign. He's going to produce wherever he goes. I would still love to have him if the Jets can get him on the right contract, but I think Gaines might be the way to go because he's younger. And then what's Claiborne's biggest flaw? It's his injury concerns. It's the same with Gaines, except Gaines is arguably better and he's younger, so I'd go with Gaines. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think that's fine. If you want to reach out to Kyle Fuller, although I think he's going to cost too much money, but yeah, any of those guys, really, they're all acceptable. And this is why, to be honest with you, other than the quarterback thing, I wasn't panicking after day one like a lot of people, because you looked at it and you said, oh, my God, what are the Jets? They're not doing anything. All right, fine, but none of the corners were off the board. None of the centers were off the board except for Richburg, which I didn't even care because I thought Spencer Long and Ryan Jensen were better options anyway. So I think corner should be the top priority. As far as other guys that are available, I'd like to see a tight end. I think Eifert is a solid option if you can get him on a one-year deal. The injuries worry you, but again, on a one-year deal, it might be worth a flyer. Eric Ebron, I brought up this point today, and I thought it was kind of funny. If the Jets were to get Eric Ebron, they would have at some point in time employed all three of the top three tight ends from the 2014 draft. So that's kind of interesting to me. You know, read into it what you will, but I think that
who's the other one? Jason Amaro?
Amaro,
Jason Amaro, yep.
And Ebron.
Yeah, those three. So I think Ebron's certainly an interesting possibility. I wouldn't have traded anything for him, but now that he's free, if the price is right, that works. You could add some offensive line depth. That never hurts, obviously. But I think that another corner, a tight end, if there's a receiver out there that you like, that wouldn't be terrible. Some depth on the O-line, maybe a little depth on the D-line, and you're rocking and rolling heading into the draft, and then you see what you do. But I think that if they're going to have any more quote-unquote big money signings or reasonably big signings, cornerback makes the most sense. The biggest ticket item is Honey Badger, but as much as I'd like to see him come in, even if he does, you still got to add another corner because he's not really that traditional corner. You're not going to line him up against the number 2 receiver. So that's what I would say. But, yeah, I would like to see Honey Badger. I'd like to see another corner. We'll see what they do. It'll be interesting because they still have plenty of money, and that's why I thought it was funny because people were like, oh, God, Trumaine Johnson, they gave him this. Who cares? They had $100 million. Once Kirk Cousins wasn't coming, then it was, all right, well, you better spend it or you're going to get stuck spending $5 million on Buster Screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I had a few people mentioned saying the Jets overpaid Trumaine Johnson, and, you know, I think, yeah, he was always going to get more than what I would have liked. But, you know, if you're missing out on Cousins and you have the most cap space in the NFL, why not? Why not just let it fly and get a guy who could be a lockdown corner for you, play with the Jets secondary coach? I think it's a very good signing.
He's the best corner on the market, and I think that, look, he's not Darrelle Revis, Deion Sanders, anybody like that, but he's a good corner, and he's a huge improvement over what they had. He was the best guy that was available. He fits what they want to do. So, you know what? If you got to pay a couple extra bucks, so what? That's what the money's for. Otherwise, what are you going to do?
Yeah, no, I agree. Kyle, any last thoughts before we close the show?
I think we've done a good job. Just get a quarterback, and this team's going to be competitive.
Yeah, I think just get those, as I said, if they can get an E.J. Gaines, a Tyrann Mathieu, the tight end, and then just like Adrian Claiborne or anybody like that, or even Alex Okafor, just one of those guys on the front seven, just as an end outside linebacker, just so we have one. But really, just Mathieu, Gaines, tight end. I think the Jets are going to be set. Hopefully, they don't have to trade up to get their quarterback, but as Scott said, you don't really want to take that risk. But yeah, I mean, as Kyle said, if the Jets walk out of that draft with Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, or Josh Rosen, then I think the Jets are walking out with a terrific offseason. I think they would have knocked it out of the park. If they don't, then you're gonna have to wait. Let's say they don't trade up, they get Bradley Chubb, they get some nice other picks in the second and third round. Max is gonna be toasted for a few weeks, and then you go into training camp. Let's say Bridgewater comes back and picks up right where he left off, and he has a career year. Then the Jets also could be in the playoffs. So who knows? I won't say anything. You know, I'll try not to criticize him before we see what happens. I think the Jets is a safer bet and more a hopeful bet is to go after a quarterback, but I think he's done a really good job plugging some holes. I think the Bridgewater signing was really good. I wouldn't have really given anything to McCown. I would have preferred just to not have McCown, and then you can just roll into next year with Bridgewater and a rookie, even if that rookie is Sam White in the fourth or fifth round. Even if you don't draft a quarter. I'd almost rather just have Bridgewater, not pay $10 million to McCown. But
right,
it's whatever. I think
he's apparently the second highest paid coach in the NFL after Bill Belichick, by the way. Or no, third after Belichick and Gruden.
The Jets' own Instagram account referred to him as the player coach, like literally on the player coach Josh McCown returning for next year.
So stupid. Just hire him as coach.
Yeah, we don't even have a quarterback's coach, so he is the quarterback's coach as of right now. Because I don't know. Anyways, but I'm happy with the Jets have done. Let's hope they can get their quarterback in the draft. One of the three top ones is we're talking about Donald Rosen and Mayfield. And I think 2018 will be a lot more exciting and hopeful than 2017 was. Scott, it's been a pleasure. You didn't pit us against each other. I think Kyle might have taken at least 3 naps during this entire podcast, but it was great to talk to you. Shout out your podcast. You've been doing some great work this week. Very consistent uploads.
I go silent because you're always yelling at me and you never shut up and stop nagging. Then I go silent and you're
cranky.
You're nagging me.
Scott, you woke the baby up from his nap.
I think Ben is trying to say that I bored you guys. I hope that's not what it was. But
Oh, no. I was engaged. I'm just saying, Kyle is normally pretty talkative. Today he was not. And yeah, maybe I was hard.
I made a cousin's joke. All right, I was involved.
That was one of your better jokes. I laughed.
It was a good joke. I have to admit, Kyle, it was definitely one of your better jokes. But yeah, so boys, as always, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad you're back, and hopefully you are not going to get tired of me. I'll call in, and we'll do this again next week or something.
Please, Scott. We love when you call in.
Lots. Well, thank you. We'll have to. You know what we'll have to do? We'll have to do a 3-man booth, Monday Night Football style from the old days, not this 2-man booth with Peyton Manning or whoever takes over for John Gruden. We'll do the 3-man booth like the old days. But lots of great content at TOJ Digital, Ben. The Jet Take is back, so that's great. Obviously, every Wednesday night you guys are on, taking phone calls at 8 o'clock. We've got Joe doing the Turn of the Jets podcast. We got a brand new song, a theme song, that one of the fans put together for Joe, so that's really cool. And then what I've been doing is every night this week I've been doing a free agency wrap-up show. This is after we did the round tables every week. This week we had Connor Hughes Monday. Yesterday was Connor Rogers. Tonight, once I finish editing everything, it'll be Corey Griffin from NBC Sports. And tomorrow, your old friend Daryl Slater from New Jersey Advanced Media is going to join me. And then I've got a lot of really cool shows that we're going to do over the next bunch of weeks, and I'm going to get to play like a Jet in a second. But I already spoke to your boy Kyle Smith, who I'm a big fan of, real smart guy, knows football like very few, and he's agreed to watch every single snap that Teddy Bridgewater has taken in the NFL. So that's 2 years worth of film. He's going to take copious notes, and then he's going to come on with me, and he's going to do a complete film room review of every snap that Teddy Bridgewater has taken. So Jets fans, if you didn't get a chance to watch Teddy Bridgewater that much with the Minnesota Vikings, and you're really curious what they may be getting if he's anywhere close to full health, you are in for a real treat, because you guys know this. Kyle is tremendous at breaking down film, and he's a great communicator, so it's always a treat to have him break these things down. So he's going to do that for us sometime in the next few weeks. You got to give him time. He's got an actual job and an actual life, so he'll fit it in at some point. And then I don't want to say anything until we have it recorded, but I've talked to a couple of people who are really, really smart quarterback guys who study quarterbacks for a living, and they're going to do some shows with me where we're going to break down each of the quarterbacks that the Jets could be looking at in this draft. So what I'm going to do is, realistically, I think there could be 6 first-round quarterbacks. So we're going to do each one of them so that if you're a Jets fan, you know exactly what you could be getting if the Jets get any of those 6 guys. It'll be an in-and-out look. So if you're someone that didn't really get a chance to watch that much of these guys, or you've seen film here and there, and you're just kind of relying on what some people have said, if you want a full detailed breakdown and you want to know everything so that when the draft comes up, you're prepared and you know what to expect as far as these guys go and who you want, and you'll know every little aspect of what these guys' strengths and weaknesses are, then we're going to have a lot of great shows for you coming up. And then Play Like a Jet, we're in the middle of a series with Thomas Jones on 2009, which is the last time that the Jets had some success with a rookie quarterback. And it was a really exciting season, very up and down. You guys know how it went, so I won't spoil it for anybody who doesn't remember. But we're getting into the middle of the season now.
Anybody who's listening to these podcasts doesn't remember how 2009 went?
Listen, you never know. I hope that everybody would remember, but
we won the Super Bowl, guys.
Very close, very close. But don't give away the ending, Ben. But yeah, we're in the middle of it now with Thomas Jones, who is Pro Bowl running back for the Jets. That year he had one of the best seasons any Jet running back has ever had, and he's also in Hollywood now doing movies and TV shows and stuff. And he went through the 2009 season with us, and it was a lot of fun. So we're up to part 5 this week. A lot of stuff going on at TOJ Digital, guys. I got to tell you, I'm really pleased with how everything is turning out. We've been getting, all of our shows really have been getting some fantastic guests. You guys have been killing it. I'm glad you're back. Joe's been crushing it with some of the great guests he's gotten. We've gotten terrific guests as well. So I'm just really excited, and I think that when it comes to Jets content, whether it's news, rumors, just feature articles, and, of course, the audio content, we're kicking everyone's butt. No offense to anyone else. A lot of great shows and stuff out there, but I just think we're doing a great job over at TOJ, and I'm really looking forward to draft season because it's going to be so much fun to talk about, guys.
I don't think I can disagree with anything you said there. Scott, great stuff as always, and what a fantastic plug there at the end, by the way, for not only your show, TOJ. First class plug right there. Anyways, but thank you for calling in. You always bring the fire and some great takes. We'll hope the Jets can find their quarterback, Scott, so you don't have a heart attack in the middle of your next play.
Yeah, Corey Griffin and I are going to need pacemakers if the Jets come out of that draft with no quarterback.
As every Jets fan will, if the Jets are rolling into next year with Josh McCown as their starting quarterback. Let's just hope. Let's just hope they get a young quarterback, or Teddy Bridgewater shocks the world. Scott, great to hear from you, man. Looking forward to your call next week.
Thanks, boys. Kyle, before I go, want to say, I didn't mean it. I wasn't actually going to slap you. It was just older brother talk.
You weren't actually going to slap me. I mean, I wouldn't let that happen.
That would be child abuse, so I couldn't do that. But
we called you a child.
Oh.
Well, but, I mean, he's under 18,
you made
right?
Things worse. You tried, and you just made things worse. Congrats.
Well, he's under 18. Technically, by law, it would be child abuse, wouldn't it? Am I wrong? Call Schofield. He's the lawyer. Find out.
He's a child.
We'll get our lawyer. Ben, dial Schofield.
Call Schofield and let's find this out. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, I'm really glad you guys are back, and I'm looking forward to talking to you next week too. And listen, all I could say is, and I say this every time I'm on with you, please try not to kill each other. Thank you.
Scott, great to hear from you. We can't promise that.
All right, good night, guys.
That was Scott Mason from the Play Like a Jet podcast. Kyle, that'll do it for our first episode of Season 3 of the Jet Take. We're going to get this out tonight as soon as possible. Kyle, any last thoughts before we go? Oh, whoa! I uploaded the last episode.
False. False. We went over this already. We went over this.
I don't agree with this, but we'll see after the show airs. Kyle, any last thoughts?
No. I think I already said it.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us. You can follow us at The Jet Take on Twitter or listen to our show on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. We're all over the place. Any other place you listen to podcasts, we're there. Follow us on Twitter, though, at The Jet Take. It's a big place to follow us. And feel free to call into the show. We did a caller episode. We had 2 callers and Scott. Pretty fun. So call us 515-739-1285 and enter our PIN code, which is 261860 with the hash sign. All right, that'll do it for us. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Jet Take. Let's hope the Jets have a nice week here, and we have plenty of stuff to talk about next Wednesday. And let's hope they can get their quarterback of the future by the time the draft rolls around. That'll do it for us. Thank you guys, and we'll leave you with the best chant in the National Football League. Enjoy your Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your week, and let's hope the Jets can put together a few more free agent offers.
Honey Badger, don't give a...